Just tell her it was the spirit.
Jesus told me to come talk to you. I didn't know what to say, but he said talk to you. Okay. Hello, Miss Brandi.
Hello, how are you?
Welcome back to another episode of
Big Girl Britches.
First, we must add, it is Brittany's birthday today.
Thank you.
Go, shawty. It's your birthday.
We're gonna party like
It's your birthday. We're going to sip this coffee like it's your birthday.
Good plug.
Thank you.
I like it. Okay, so we really wanted to have Brandi on because, well, first of all, excuse me, ma'am, I booked you a long time ago, okay, for this. And she's just so gracious to fit us into her schedule.
I'm sorry, I know. I'm just extremely busy. And thank you for having me on. Like, I'm so excited that you wanted. I'm honored.
Yeah. Okay, so why, and I want to give context to everybody as to kind of who you are and why we wanted you to come on here. So Brandi is a mom, because everybody always wants to like have moms on here, which obviously. But usually we have like business owners or people who are just really highly involved with things and wear lots of hats. And you do fit that bill of wearing lots of hats, but it just in a super cool, different way. And I had told Brandi I had lots of questions for her, but they were definitely not the ones that she was assuming that I was going to ask. So Brandi is a mom of a D1 athlete. Is that what we call those nowadays?
Yes.
Because everybody on TikTok's like, how to catch a D1 athlete, like, you know what I mean?
How to make sure your children are D1.
Oh, yeah, how to make,
How to have D1 babies.
D1 babies,
D1
that's what it is.
That's great.
That's what it is, I've seen.
That's great.
Okay, so Brandi has a D1 baby, y'all. So you've made it.
Did you have 2 D1 babies?
So I do have an older daughter, Caitlin.
Yes.
She's 30.
She's my age.
Not athletic at all.
Okay, no, I thought she was. I remember in high
athletic.
school. Is she super smart? She did a lot of academic things?
She is super smart. She's my smart kid. Not saying
Okay.
Ethan's not smart.
Well,
Caitlin
they
is
have
super
different
smart.
skills.
They do.
Yeah.
Kate's a dancer. She
Okay.
danced for years.
Oh, so she is
Okay.
cheerleader
Yes,
dancer.
yes. Okay.
Now they classify cheerleaders as a sport. So
Okay.
this is a girl who will break her finger swinging or like trip over something that there's not even there. So she's not my athletic.
I just remember from school her being involved in things is why I thought she did sports.
Yeah. No, she's super chill, though, and I
Yeah.
only know that because of, like, the wedding planning happening right now.
We are planning a wedding.
A not wedding.
A not wedding. I love it.
Which is so fun to hear about. We're gonna ask her all those questions. But also, okay, so Brandi Frey, if you haven't connected the last name, is the mom of Ethan Frey, who honestly, like when we talked about you coming on the podcast, 3 months ago,
Right.
it wasn't like I mean, Ethan is a fabulous ball player, but lately, the past like month or two,
He's all over.
he's all over the internet. I'm
Literally.
like, why is Ethan from Rose Pine all over the internet? And I see his tat sleeve all over the internet. I'm like, man, somebody put some contrast on that too.
Yeah.
They're like really
So,
wanting that thing to pop
The
hard.
second that the first booking that you were supposed to be here,
Yeah.
the second Brittany texted me and was like, hey, she's booked, blah, blah, blah. It was like every time I opened up Facebook, Ethan Frey, LSU, like some kind of like.
Well, he's in
thing.
the lineup like
Yeah.
a ton.
He's getting there.
And
He
I
is.
don't check the lineup like every single game, but whenever you share it, which is often, his name's always in it. And I was like, dang, this boy is like up in the ranks. I
Thanks,
don't know
Ethan. He said, I got to show out. My mom's on a podcast.
He's like, I'm doing Rose Pine a solid.
Yes.
Can I just say we turn out some athletes
We do.
from
Y'all
the
do.
Pine?
We do. We have some great athletes. Rose Pine has really turned into an athletic school, and people want to come not only now for academics,
Yeah.
but for athletics and basketball and baseball. And oh my God, can we talk about our track and cross country?
Okay, I saw that this morning. Mhm.
Wow. So Ethan has been all over, but what's the weirdest thing is like now when Ross and I will walk like around in Baton Rouge, and like it just happened to us Sunday. We were in a hurry. Was it Sunday? Maybe Saturday. Had our Fry jerseys on, and we get the hey, is that the Freys? Oh my God, are they related to Ethan? Oh my God. Oh my God. Or like we're walking like, hey, do you know Ethan? And I'm like, I do. And they're like, oh my God, we love him. And I'm like, I do too. And they're like, what? I'm like, I'm his mom. And he's like, oh.
And then they're like, Ethan's mom!
Uh-huh.
Oh, I got that yesterday yelled across Alex
You're like a
box.
Stacy's mom. You know what I mean?
Stacy's mom
has got it going
I
on.
hope.
You do got it going on, boo.
It used to be Kay Fry's mom because Caitlin was really
Yeah.
popular in high school, and we'd be going places around and like, oh, you're Kay Fry's mom. And I'm like,
Because she's
Hey,
super
I'm Brandi.
social, isn't she?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But the older we get, we're not. I think she was. She did a lot.
She said the older we get, we're not.
Yeah.
I was a grade below her, I think, and I was only at Rose Pine for a short time. But Caitlin was just sociable with everybody, I think.
She
was
did a
wild.
lot. She did a lot of the
Yeah.
clubs. She did a lot of the stuff for the military because
Yeah.
we are military. And she did cheerleading and dance line and yeah.
So I could see everybody being like, "Oh,
But since she's moved to Houston, now it's like, oh, you're Ethan's mom. So like if I hear people whispering, I'm like, hey, I'm Brandi. I have a name.
I'm famous now.
But it is kind of handy sometimes when we go to restaurants. They're like, oh, there's Ethan. I'm like, hey, can we get like that seat there? They're like, yes. I'm like,
Can we have a booth?
well, when we went to Omaha, I walked into Cheesecake Factory because the boys were kind of told like, hey, hang low.
And he was a freshman that year, right?
And he was a freshman. But if you're on the roster, like
Yeah.
in the hotel, like you were swarmed with people. So he was like, I just want to go eat. And they were really cautious, like, hey, if you go out, go with your parents. So I walked into Cheesecake Factory and I said, quietly so no one would hear me, hey, this is who I am. I'm bringing an LSU player. Can we sit in the corner with nobody around? Literally, I had like two managers. They're like, yeah, bring him in. And then they looked at him and like, well, you didn't tell me you were Ethan Frey's mom. I'm like, we're in Cheesecake Factory in Omaha, Nebraska. How would you know?
Yeah.
So they literally took us. So I had Ethan and the family come in from the car, literally met us at the door, and they escorted us to the back. And it was so weird. It's so
that's
weird.
so cool.
That's so cool, though.
That's
It's so
cool.
weird.
VIP. You're going to need a bodyguard soon.
Well, they have them in Omaha.
Really?
Yes.
That's cool.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
I hope they get to go
It's
back.
that crazy. So why
they're going back.
specifically in
Are they going to go
Omaha?
back this year?
So Omaha is a location of the College World Series.
Yes.
Okay.
So-
Oh, we're catching Lacey up on baseball. World.
Okay, so
No,
baseball
like I
world.
love baseball, but I haven't caught up,
Oh,
like
yeah.
stayed caught up with
There's
the
like
College World
shirts.
Series and stuff.
Let's see you in Omaha.
Okay.
Like, oh yeah.
I'm about to be a groupie.
Yes, we are.
Okay.
We're gonna go to
So-
Omaha.
Oh, we're going to Omaha. Like
Yeah.
this is
Road trip. How far of a drive?
Can
is
I
that?
go?
Yeah.
Oh,
Invite
12
me.
hours.
Okay.
So freshman
A vein almost popped. I'm like, I can't breathe.
So freshman year, so in high school, so let me kind of start back.
Okay.
Which I should go back to like
I got really
the
far
being
from that.
recruited because you wanted to know about being recruited.
Oh yes.
Right?
So I had questions. So she said, "I don't know. What are we going to even talk about?" And I said, "I think my questions are going to be from a mom's perspective of like, if my child has the dream to want to play college ball, what are the things that I need to do to ensure their success?"
Yeah.
And I think
Ooh.
not only that, but I mean, more detailed questions like, at what age do they need to go to like camps? Like what kind of camps? Like things like that.
And also, like, at what age did you know?
oh yeah.
So sports moms are different. Sports moms are different. I have been told by my husband multiple times, like, you need to calm down. I learned that real quick when he got older. So at 5 years old, it goes back to 5. So when we moved here, we're in the military.
Mhm.
We got stationed in here. We got stationed here
And he stayed
in
'cause he loved
2009.
it.
We stayed because Ethan is not one to move around. Caitlin went to a ton of schools. And she's like, we've been here for 2 years. We need to go.
Yeah.
But Ross dropped his retirement packet. Long story short, we got to stay here because of the kids. So when he was 5, we had a girl. They're 9 years apart. Kate's 30. Ethan will be 21 this weekend. So we did dance. So we come here and he's like, I want to sign up for like baseball. I'm like, baseball? My husband's hockey. I'm like, okay, well, what do I do? And then I saw these, posts about signing up for T-ball. So I'm like, okay. So
it would
we
be killer though if we had hockey.
Oh, I know, right?
I would be falling over myself.
My
to
husband's
get Brandi
really
to
good at
play.
hockey.
He should coach. We need a hockey rink.
We don't have time. Oh, he could have gone pro. He's that good. He was raised in Minnesota. He's so good. That's where my son gets his athleticism from. So when he was 5, we signed him up for this t-ball, right? So small town. I'm not from a small town. I grew up in Chicago. We played t-ball. We were on a team that was full of girls. It wasn't that good. But Ethan was a boy. He was good, I thought. I don't know. And then All-Stars came. And every mom, I was there, said, oh, my son made All-Stars, right? Well, I didn't know anything about that. What did that mean? I got a phone call saying, hey, why is your son at All-Star practice? I'm like, I didn't even know there was practice. What are you talking about? And they're like, well, he made the All-Star team. Nobody told me.
Oh.
They assumed we knew, living in Rose Pine, that I didn't know. I didn't know. So I'm like, oh my God, Ethan, let's go. And he's like, I'm only going if I can wear my soccer cleats. I'm like, what? So he put on his little soccer cleats and his soccer shins, and we're going to All-Stars, right?
Wow. Bold.
What? Who does that?
Ethan.
I'm like, just put them on. Fine, let's go. And, of course, Mom's like, oh my God, he made All-Stars. And, we want the matching hat and the shirt. And,
Oh, yeah.
well, let me tell you. So that year, everyone's like, oh my God, he's good. I'm like, he's 5.
Yeah.
They're like, well, are you like retiring here? I'm like, what? They're like, he's really good. I'm like, he's 5.
Yeah.
How do we know? So then let's scoot up a little bit. The older he got, we're like, oh, he is good, but he practiced. Like when I tell you Dad was in the yard from the time he got home to late at night, even when Ethan was like little, he would want to play baseball outside.
Yeah.
So probably about 7, 8, we took our Dixie youth to like Searcy, Arkansas. We made like history in Rose Pine. We never made it that far in All-Stars and all this. Well, then we lost out in Searcy. So then like he just kept getting better.
Yeah.
So I think when like people would come up and say, oh, he's really good, I'm like, I don't know. So I think probably about 7th grade, like we had like a travel team. Actually, it was when he was in Searcy, a travel team reached out. I'm like, he's 9. Like, what does that entail? Like, we're military. You want me to travel? Like, how do we can't do that, So anyways, we tried out for this team and Ethan made it. It was a 2-year older team. So of course he thought he was cool. Like I'm 2 years younger than these boys making. Well, so anyways, he made this team. And then I kind of started realizing, okay, he's equal to these other boys his age. Just keep practicing, keep getting better. Well, then in high school, we had people come up. So I guess when people started coming up to us and saying, oh, he's really good, you want your child to be good.
Yeah.
You want them to be good.
You keep talking about baseball. The first time I had known y'all was during football season.
Oh, football.
And so Ethan played football, and he was our quarterback. And he
Really?
Yes, ma'am.
I didn't know
was
that.
where I first saw Ethan and y'all, and he was our quarterback, and he was phenomenal. Like he's so fast.
Yeah.
And so accurate.
And so tall. So that's
and
what
so
made
tall.
him so.
Yeah. But I was like, oh, he's the star football player. And then when people are like, oh, he's going to LSU, I was like, yeah, no, duh, for football. And people are like, no, he's not going to LSU for football. He's going for baseball. I'm like, what the heck? He plays 2 sports, and he's really good at both.
So he was recruited some for football.
Okay.
1 or 2 schools wanted him to do dual athlete, and we absolutely you can't.
That's a lot.
That is a lot.
Plus, academics.
Academically, athletically, like your body's going to be worn out.
And mentally.
Yes. So we were at a travel ball tournament. So this is how I kind of knew he maybe can go to college. Because that's every mom's dream. Like at 8, we're like, oh my God, they're going to be a
Or at
D1
least
athlete.
that's every kid's dream. Is even Gracie, she's 10, and she's like, I'm going to go to LSU on a softball scholarship. I'm like, you got a long way to go, sister.
Gentry says she's going to play softball until she can't anymore, and then she's going to coach.
Oh, that's great, though. We need great coaches.
I know. So we'll see where they both go. I think it's fun.
Okay, so how did you know?
So we were a freshman. Ethan was a freshman, and we were at this huge tournament. And so we go to dinner, And we get a call from the coach of Team Louisiana. That's who Ethan played for all 4 years of high school. Love Team Louisiana. And he's like, hey, I have some colleges reaching out. Talk to mom and dad. Sit down, discuss. What is your top 5 colleges you'd want to go to?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was easy. So it was like LSU, Ole Miss, just good schools. And I'm like, Bub. We call him Bubba. I'm like, dude, do you know what it takes to go to LSU? You just don't get to go to LSU. You just don't. That's every kid's dream in Louisiana, And then they write an article or write an essay about it in their school and, what do I want to do when I grow up? And then the teacher's like, yeah, that's not going to happen. Literally happened. Ethan, he wrote this, I want to be in the MLB. The teacher wrote back and said, it'll never happen. Come up with another career.
I'd really like to know who that teacher is.
Oh, well, I'll tell you off. I'll tell you off. Yeah, that was fun. So he came up with his top 5 choices, and the coach said, hey, look, the owner of TL said, look, we have teams reaching out. Call me back. Let's discuss it. UT, LSU, Ole Miss were some of the top ones. So
UT as in Texas or
University
Tennessee?
of Texas.
Okay.
We're big UT fans. I shouldn't say that, but we were stationed at Fort Hood for years, and we love UT. We love it. I thought Kate would go to school there.
UT is that what are their colors? Break it down to me that way.
Burnt orange.
Okay, they're the Longhorns.
Yeah.
Okay,
They're the Longhorns.
Yeah. Okay.
I thought you were talking about Tennessee for a second.
Oh, that's not in my color palette. Absolutely off the table. Not off the table.
Orange for him. That's why Brittany likes Tennessee.
No, I'm from Tennessee.
Oh, just kidding. I was just trying to make it
I
Morgan
love
Wallen
Tennessee.
relevant.
I love the state of Tennessee, just not my color. So he made his list, called Team Louisiana back, gave him, and he's like, well, that's funny. Your number 1 is Louisiana. And Ethan's like, sir? And he's like, that's who reached out to me. And Ethan's like, no way. And I'm like, chill out. Don't get your hopes up. It's just, we're freshmen. We're freshmen.
Yeah.
I want to know who this recruiter was that called him, and does he have a plaque on his wall that says, I am the best at my job in the whole world? To reach out to this 14-year-old kid to peg him to be on the
to see that
baseball team for
potential.
LSU,
Yeah.
and now he's
And now
on the
he's
starting
there.
lineup all the time.
And how many times has he done that?
Who can spot it 5 years in advance? I really...
So let me get to this story. You would be amazed. So one of the schools that reached out to him, I'm not going to say it because it goes with my story.
Okay.
So he reached out. We were in the hotel. It was that weekend. So when I tell you we were at a big tournament, we were in a tournament in Georgia where there's tons of colleges, tons of scouts. You just don't know it as a parent, right?
Like a showcase.
Yes, it was a showcase. So freshman year, we realized we had to start taking them to showcases. So this team, Louisiana, went to Georgia, in this huge tournament. One of the schools reached out to Ethan and said, hey, we want to recruit you. However, you have 8 hours to make your decision. Oh, this was a weekend and we're freshmen.
LSU did this?
No,
or a
not
different
LSU.
school?
It was not
Okay.
LSU. It was a different school, and
Okay.
I'm not going to talk about it because...
I didn't hear what you said.
Oh, it was
the
a different
first part.
school.
Okay.
And Ethan thought that was weird. Wait, let me back up. Maybe it wasn't that weekend. This college was kind of recruiting him. And then I think it was 2 weeks later when they called us that weekend, they told me he has 8 hours to make that decision. And he's like, sir, I'm 14. I'm a freshman. I can't make that decision. I love your school and I just can't make the decision. He's like, okay, well, you're off the list. But going back to this college, I was at a tournament during that time, and people do not get this. Moms do not get this. Dads do not get this, okay? We hear it. I saw it firsthand where they say you have to be careful what you say. So I was at this tournament. Ross, my husband, was not there. Ethan's playing this team, right? And this guy walks up to me, and I kind of knew he looked familiar. And he's like, hey, are you Ethan Frey's mom? And I'm like, yes. And he's like, well, I'm so-and-so with this college.
That same school.
He's like, I technically stand over there. Just wanted you to see my face. And we were just kind of nonchalantly talking. And then all of a sudden, a dad from the other team Ethan was playing against was yelling at his son. This coach literally said to me, I'm sorry, hold on, ma'am. Grabs his clipboard, crosses the kid's name off the list. He's like,
Oh,
well,
yeah.
he's not going to my school. But how many times is moms like are yelling, go, or screaming at the kids, or dads are like, oh my God, throw the strike or hit the ball. And they're like, you never know who's watching. You never
Well, you have
know.
to be able to you have to have a sense of decorum, in that public space, because you can't. I know so many people say this all the time, but you can't coach a kid in a game.
You can't.
You can't. That's when they
can't.
play. You can coach them at practice. You can coach them at lessons or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But in a game, you can't coach anybody. I might do some things when Grace is pitching, and I do this kind of thing if she looks at me. Used to, she
Don't
would
look.
look at me constantly, and I'd be like, "Stop looking at me! Stop looking at me!" But if you're gonna look at me, turn
Right.
your belly this way, because you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But now, I watched her pitch yesterday, and she didn't look at me, and I was rubbing my belly, trying to get her to look. And she didn't want to look at me, and I was like, "Are we finally at that age to where you don't look at me?" Thank God.
Yeah. Okay, so behave in what way? Because I'm that mom that I'm like, you got this, girl. Head up. Watch the ball. And then when they're running, I'm like, go, 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 go.
Oh yeah.
No,
I think
that's
that's
fine.
Okay, okay.
Positive
But
reinforcement.
these
But
dads
okay,
on this
Come on,
team,
Henry.
the acting a fool is
we're
what.
acting a fool. And literally by the time in a 10-minute span, this whole team that this coach was recruiting was marked off.
Yeah.
And it's true. Because how many times as a parent do we go, oh my God, what did you thinking?
Oh yeah.
Or
Especially at T-ball's the worst.
Mm-hmm.
You ever? It's like hurting. It's like hurting cats.
Mm-hmm.
so I think of course, when they're 7 and 8, we're like, oh my God, you're going to the pros. And we're not. We're 7 and 8. I learned
Yeah.
that the hard way. But we just are rooting on our moms. And the dad's like, what are you guys doing? We're just rooting. I said rooting on our moms, rooting on our kids. We just want our kids.
Yeah.
We're like, our kids are the best.
Yeah.
But that's how we act,
Yeah.
So I think that was an eye opener for me. And I'm like, oh God, if Ethan wants to be recruited at all,
Better keep y'all
It's
mouths
a
shut.
family effort.
you're gonna sit in the corner of that bleachers and not talk. So people are like, oh my God, you don't talk. No, we don't talk. So Ross and I learned real quick. We're just gonna sit there and we're not gonna talk.
Well, now if you go to a game, a camera pans to you and looks at your facial expression.
Oh gosh, do you know how many texts I get? Did you watch the game yesterday? Because I can't
No.
tell you how many people texted me. We saw you. Oh, in Omaha, my aunt texted me and said, Brandi, you need to smile. Smile? Oh my God, I was so nervous. I can't smile. What?
And you're looking for cameras, hi.
Well, we had Caitlin and some friends, and all the hot girls were sitting to the left of me. And so I texted my aunt. I said, they're not panning at me. They're panning at the hot girls, which is fine, which is great. Just
Yeah, go over there. Leave me alone.
So we learned the hard way. Recruiting is stressful. Because it's do I make the right decision? How do I know where I'm going? The biggest thing is you want to play. Everybody
Yeah.
wants to play. And every mom, I am guilty, thinks their kid is the D1 athlete.
And gets the playtime the entire time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's just not how it goes when they get older.
No.
I talked to Chloe Bennett. She's coaching the
Love
girls
Chloe.
softball team.
Yes.
And she told me they took, and it's her first year, and she's learning, and I commend her. I hope she builds up that program to be incredible. But she said she took 26 girls. And it goes back to a conversation I had a year or so ago where I was told by a coach, you're giving these kids unrealistic expectations by giving them these key players, in the infield or outfield or pitching or whatever, when you're letting them play in on the field the entire game, and then they throw fits because one pool game, they're in the dugout, for a quarter or a half the game, and then the parents yelling, how come you're punishing my kid? You know what I mean?
True story.
Yeah. And it happens all the time. I see it happen all the time, parents thinking they're coaches. And you're really doing these kids a disservice by letting them believe that, one, they're guaranteed a position on a field at any given time, and two, they get to play the entire game, every game, all season long. And so you end up getting these kids that are entitled,
Right.
and then you end up getting these kids that are more, humble, that are taking the bench once in a while or whatever, and the kids that are on the field the entire time just end up like burning out, getting injured,
Oh, getting injured, yeah.
or, having that false sense of entitlement.
But he's also in college. Parents also feel that way. Like, my kid is here, he should play. And I get it.
But there's so many. Have you seen how many boys are in that dugout? There's so many boys.
So the roster's like 40, and you
Wow.
have 9
Yeah,
that get to
there's
play.
9 on the
Wow.
field.
Now,
Like,
next year it's all changing, and I think the roster limit's 34 or whatever. But I know
That's still a lot.
it is a lot. And you just see your kid working so hard and wanting to be
Yeah.
successful. So it's not like,
it's not like they're wrong for their feelings,
Yeah.
but it's just
No.
your coach is going to take your best, your top best, any given day of the week.
Yeah.
I think at the college level, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there's no pool play games.
and it's a business. It is a
It's-
business.
yes.
It is a business. We are here to win. The
And
coach is here to
which-
win.
And that's another question I have, and I don't know how much knowledge you have on this, but how much of your roster, your playing roster, your starting lineup, how much of your starting lineup is actual talent versus marketing too?
Oh, I'm sure. Oh, with colleges and NIL deals is going on now.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I'm not to make it any. I'm sure so many are incredibly talented, and that's how they ended up there. But are some cherry picked because they're incredibly tall, or they're incredibly good looking, or does one have I don't know, something like more marketable in the college baseball world, then they look better on a card. Or
I would hope
something.
that's not true. But I see what you're saying. And with NIL deals, I see it.
Right.
I see it with the NIL deals. I
NIL,
would hope
that's merch deals.
NIL
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
the name, image, and likeliness. So that's
Okay.
like how Ethan just got a really cool box of hats and swag and from this company. And then that's okay, well, when you wear the hat, take a picture, post it. It's free marketing. I'm going to
Yeah,
give you
yeah.
free merchandise, but you're going to advertise my business.
Right.
So when you have thousands of followers
Mhm.
on your Instagram, which is now the biggest thing, or the Facebook, not so much for the
Yeah.
college kids. When you have that, it's oh, well, you play for
Right.
LSU. You have a lot of followers. I'm going to send you swag. You
They
just
want to
take the
put their
picture.
merch in front of
Yeah.
that audience.
Yeah.
Which is, it's smart.
Isn't that a new thing that they've allowed the college players to be able to do recently in the past few years?
Well, I think they've been allowed to do that, but it's the whole being paid.
To being paid. So now
is what got
athletes-
added. Okay.
I think it was Ethan's senior year. So now you can get paid. A college can pay you to come play for them.
Does the college
Oh.
itself pay you?
or does
donors
the
Or
pay
do the
you.
company?
boosters pay you?
It depends on which
legally,
college.
those are
Oh.
different things.
Yes.
I did not understand that's what it was. I thought it
Yes.
meant while the student was in college and playing that they could take sponsorships. If
I
Yeti
think they've
called, it
always
was
been
like,
able to do that.
okay,
I think
okay.
because that's your personal finance. I don't think that's a contract that
Okay.
you sign with the school, is it?
No, so sometimes some of the deals Ethan has gotten or is in the works has to go through his agent.
Mm.
The lawyer aspect and all that.
Yeah.
But these kids are now getting paid a lot of money to
Oh,
go
yeah.
play at colleges.
Wow.
A
And
lot
it's
of money.
It's
a
almost
lot of
and I know why
Wow.
people were against it because they're going to be the most money wins, essentially. But yeah, and I think that is the point.
But I want to tell you this also. So being an in-state kid, because a lot of our kids
Are
love the LSU, the LA
Mhm.
Tech, the ULL, love the in-state
You
you know
schools.
the likelihood of you going to LSU as a Louisiana kid is honestly super slim.
Slim.
We were on the
Yes.
softball field at LSU softball camp, and all the players introduced themselves, and I saw 2 Louisiana girls out there out of a lot.
Yeah, don't you have to
Yeah.
have a pretty high ACT score to get in?
I don't even know the qualifications,
Academically?
to be honest.
I want to say you have to have. I don't know. I could be wrong.
So as an athlete,
It might be different athletically, but academically,
Yes.
I think you have to have high.
I mean, admission is different than scholarship.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
and LSU has 41,000 students this year because I literally just looked it up. I just wouldn't know that random fact.
Yeah.
We just looked it up. So their standards now can be higher because everybody wants to go to that school. Like that's the school in Louisiana that you just want to
Yes.
go to. So going back to NILs and being paid, I think LSU, the name, somewhat trumps that too. Because let's say we have two schools, and let's say we'll use Ethan as an example. We'll get paid by school a lot of money, and school B is LSU, and they're not going to pay him as much. If you're an in-state school and you love that school,
How,
and that's
how proud are your parents going to be if you went to school A versus LSU? You know what I mean? Like,
and it depends on what school A was, but
and I'm not going to use, I'm glad we're using school A because I really didn't want to label any other school in Louisiana because I think they're all great.
I mean, I went to Louisiana Tech, and so it's a thing like mamas don't let your babies grow up to be tigers. And like, because academically, there is no other school that competes in Louisiana. Athletically, no. But academically, LSU and Louisiana Tech are at the time, this was 10 years ago, we're pretty hand in hand. So it was a joke. Like, I even had the shirt, mamas don't let your babies grow up to be tigers. But
Really?
Louisiana Tech was easier to get into, no shade, than LSU was. But I did look it up. It says the average ACT score for admitted students is 27, so it's not as high as I thought. I was
27.
thinking,
I want to. Do you know how hard it is to get a 27? Like,
oh,
I don't know.
it is hard. No, not discrediting. But
Wow.
I thought that you had to have at least a low 30 to get into LSU. If you make a 27 on your ACT, that is amazing.
Right.
But it says admitted students score between 24 and 29 on the ACT.
Wow.
So you can get admitted
But
on like
average.
a 24, but average
Yeah.
is 27.
But I mean, if you're an athlete and you had a 24, like, it's fine.
Yeah.
There's other things that go in the factor of being
Right.
an athlete
Commitment.
that I
Yeah.
did not realize. Like, so as when I was a teacher, I told the kids, like, make sure you get into.
Well, he did 4-H.
Oh, Ethan did a lot of
Yeah,
clubs.
I remember that because the year he was a senior or whatever, we had so many kids go and do like at the fair.
Yeah.
What were they do? They were
The
like
woodsman skills.
yes, and then the
The hay stacking contest.
the hail bay.
Yeah.
The hay stacking. They all competed and had to
Right.
always come in
But
first.
we had I just remember so many Rose Pride kids going, and
Yes.
I'm like, dang.
Yeah. So when we found LSU was one of the schools, like that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I remember that summer, at the end of the summer. So that was kind of midsummer, at the end of that summer and traveling. And travel, listen, it's starting sooner and sooner. Travel ball, and it's expensive. Oh my gosh,
We
it's
do
so
travel
expensive.
ball.
Like I have to do feet pics to, no, I'm kidding, but like
They're starting travel ball at like 5 and 6.
Oh
I can't
my
wait for
God.
somebody to take that piece out of this. Brandi Frey does feet pics.
I know I'm gonna be blasted all over, but
Let's take it ourselves and start that.
Oh my gosh.
it's so expensive.
Yeah.
So by the time
Your hotel, your food, your
Oh.
bags, your uniform, your helmet, multiple uniforms.
Multiple
you need
uniforms.
practice jerseys. You
And
need
the altering of my work schedule.
well, yeah.
well, that's
taking
why I
time
became a
off.
teacher because it worked in the summer. It didn't work with my husband's job, but it worked with mine.
Right.
So I took Ethan a lot.
That's why you became a teacher?
That's why I became a teacher because it worked with my kids' schedule. So I have a degree in finance, and I was accredited financial counselor. Yeah.
That's so awesome.
Yeah. So when we moved here, I was what was called a family readiness support assistant out at Fort Riley, Kansas, which is a liaison between
Right.
the colonel and the families. Loved the job. When we came here, they didn't have it. I was put in the Warrior Transition Unit as a finance manager. I was a stay-at-home mom for a while with Ethan.
Transition from service to civilian?
Yes, that's when they were injured or sick.
Oh, okay.
So the soldiers would go to the
I
WTU.
thought it was just ETSing,
Oh.
telling everybody you're in the real world now.
We had some soldiers like
Command
that.
isn't just gonna like make you pay your bills.
So it was more so like we had some like that, but it was more that were like in that unit because they had cancer or
Oh.
was going to MD Anderson, still in the military.
Okay.
Yeah. So then I had someone approach me and said, "Hey, the school on post needs a teacher." And I'm like, "Okay." They're like, "What, do you have a degree?" I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, you can be a teacher in Louisiana with any degree. I'm like, no way.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, well, I was just like wanting to take off Christmas, and one of the other girls in WTU said, hey, look, I have seniority. You're working over Christmas. I'm like, wait, I can't. I have kids. You know, my husband's job in the military did not allow for me to do that. So I went and interviewed with Mr. Wesley, the principal at the time, and he's like hired me on the spot and said, look, I need a military spouse in the school. Long story short.
It was a DOD school.
It was
post.
not.
Oh, it was not.
It's not.
Okay, never mind.
We have no DOD schools in Louisiana.
Oh, okay.
What's DOD school?
Department of
Like
Defense.
Department of Defense. So normally the Department of Defense schools are on post. So I literally went back to WTU. He released me. I went start teaching, and it worked with my kids' schedule, and then it worked with travel ball. And
Yeah.
I didn't have to worry about taking off, and I was able to take Ethan to all the places.
That's
and
genius.
Yes.
I didn't even think about that.
That's really good.
Teacher schedule and travel ball schedule.
Oh,
Now,
it was,
all the moms that are listening right now are going to be like, how do I become a teacher in Louisiana?
hey, we need teachers.
We
Go
need
for
teachers,
it. Go
good
for it.
teachers.
So then that worked for me. Not everybody, but that worked for me.
We're getting a new wing put on Rose Pine Elementary, and we're going to need more teachers next year, just in case anybody is listening who wants to teach.
I love teaching. I loved it. I loved the girls that I taught with. I loved
Brandi
the
is retired
schools.
now, though, from teaching. How
I
long did
did.
you teach for?
13 years.
Oh my gosh.
So what happened is
It's a
when
whole
Ethan,
teenager.
I know. We've moved around my whole life. I've never worked at a job for 13 years. So when Ethan
Her facial expressions
Oh,
are so
look,
funny.
I
But
know.
when you're military, like, your life is every 2, 3, maybe 4, if you're lucky and you want to stay there. You really
Yeah.
got to try to stay there for longer than 3 years. But, like, I mean, my dad was military. My husband was military. Like, you get the itch.
Oh, I like 13 years
Yeah.
ago, I'm like, can we move? He's like, wait, what? I've never lived anywhere this long in my whole entire life. In May, we'll
I
be here
love this
16
place.
years.
I tell people all the time, you have no idea where you're living. I've lived in like 11 places. I've lived in like 4 different countries. Like, I love this like area. I won't say town because like we're so spread out between like
Right.
Rose Pine and DeRitter. But
think
I
like this.
I love this area. Like, the people are so nice. And like, I don't know about schools because we started at Carahanchee we did that 1 year, and then we transitioned up to Rose Pine because we bought a different house. So honestly, and my experience at Carahanchee was fabulous too. Like, that's where we met Mickey Brown. Do you know Mickey Brown? She's a teacher down at Southbow now, but she was at Carahanchee for forever. And shout out to her if she listens to this. I have no idea, but I freaking love her. She's the one that told me when Bradley was in first grade, because he's a boy. You know, boys are different than girls.
Boys are
Sorry,
different.
Lacey. She has a girl. But like, boys are completely different.
Yes, they are.
And they learn different, and they behave differently, and they get bored like really easily. And so she said, you know, Brittany, he's just a boy. You can't expect him to just sit still and be quiet for
Right.
so many hours. It's unreasonable. Like, that's an unreasonable expectation. She said, so I curtail our daily, you know, remedy for these boys to make sure if they need to, you know, stand up, sit down, like twitch their leg. Like, I don't care. Like, do what you need to do. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? She was the first teacher and probably one of the only ones I have met. And I'm sorry I'm going on this tangent, but like, she deserves that. And all the teachers who like understand that boys are different than girls in their learning styles and just the way they function in the classroom are just, she's fabulous. That's all I'm going to say. And I love her. That's it. Sorry.
It takes a special person to teach. Like, I loved it. I love teaching. But when Ethan became a senior, I'm like, my mission is done.
Yeah.
I'm done. And they're like, no, stay one more year. I'm like,
Did you stay another year after
I
that?
stayed another year. So then I'm like,
Were you miserable that whole year?
It's
okay.
well, freshman year as a college athlete and a student, I cried all year. It was very hard on me.
Did you miss a lot?
No, I didn't miss anything. But it's very hard. At that point, I was empty nesting.
Oh, yeah.
So freshman year, I was empty nesting. You have to understand, for 4 years of my life, I drove this kid everywhere for
but
every
was
game.
it better for you to still work the first year of empty nesting, or do you think it would have been worse for you emotionally had you not been working for
Oh,
a
I
year?
needed to stay working.
Yeah.
I needed
Okay.
to stay
A
working.
distraction.
And I did. So I hoarded all my days because I didn't need to take days prior to
Right.
that because being a teacher, you don't need to take vacation days, or the kids were sick, Ross took them. So I hoarded all my days. Well, I wasn't missing anything.
Yeah.
I didn't miss it. We took off Fridays. I went on the weekends to LSU. We
Yeah.
went to everything. Ethan hardly played, but
Well, he was a freshman.
he was a freshman.
Mhm.
And that was the year that we had Paul Skeens, Dylan Cruz,
Oh, yeah. Oh, dang.
Braden
Of
Jobert.
course you went all the time. Y'all went to the Omaha.
So that was the year we went to Omaha. Yeah. So we weren't missing, but I cried. And my friend's like, Brandi, like, stop crying. Like, she's like, get a grip. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my God, I literally have cried. So I'm like,
Don't you love our friends who tell us to get a grip? I had to have that
Yes.
happen last year. And you're like, when that happens, you're like, oh my gosh.
yes.
What have I been doing?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I tend to beat a dead horse, and I don't want to be like that.
Yeah.
So I got a grip, and I vowed to myself that I would never allow a freshman mom to ever feel that way. So like all the
Oh.
incoming freshman moms, I'm like, here's the deal. You're going to cry. Don't cry. Call me. Please call me. It's hard. I'm going to tell you right now, it's hard.
Yeah.
Whether your kid plays, whether
Bless
your
you.
kid doesn't play.
Well, especially if that's your last one at home.
True. So I'm like, look, and I had a freshman mom take me up on it this year, which was awesome.
Now, had Ross already retired by the time you retired?
So Ross retired in 2013 when Caitlin graduated, and then he got a government contracting position.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah,
So
because
he's still working, but in a government capacity.
Yeah, because he's like, hey, I can retire. However, that means there's no baseball. So I'm like, here's the deal. You put in all these years. That's your decision. That's not our child's decision. As parents, we need to make that decision if we are going to pay for travel ball or not. And if we choose not to, we'll figure out a different avenue. And he's like, Brandi, I think Ethan's good. Let's make the decision. I'll continue working.
Yeah.
And if at the point we realize we're spending our money and he's not,
Right.
like college caliber, we'll
Yeah.
we'll reevaluate.
Yeah.
So he continued to work for Ethan to be able to do this.
Yeah.
That's
My
awesome.
mom worked with him at Fort Polk. Or
Doing-
not with him. He was her higher up, but
Oh,
Yeah.
does she do role play?
She does,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. So my husband has been with the same company for 13 years.
yeah, she's
Listen
been
to
out there for
y'all.
16.
Y'all are
so
small
they're-
okay.
town folks
Yeah.
now.
Yes.
And now a word from our sponsor.
To many of you, he's already a familiar face, someone you've seen around town at community events or lending a helping hand when it's needed most. But I want to tell you about the man behind the handshake, the husband, the father, and the leader I've known for years. Danny is a hard worker who understands the importance of economic growth. As a business owner and someone who's been a part of this community for years, he knows the challenges small businesses face and the opportunities we need to create to keep DeRitter thriving. Danny's vision is about more than just building businesses. It's about building a future where our kids and grandkids can live, work, and succeed right here at home. Danny is loyal to a fault, some might say, but beneath his strong and sometimes rough around the edges exterior lies a genuine heart for people and service. He believes in transparency, accountability, and always putting the people of DeRitter first. If you're his friend, you already know this. He listens, he cares, and he's ready to lead our city into this next chapter. As your mayor, Danny will focus on economic development, enhancing city maintenance, and strengthening relationships with Fort Johnson and surrounding cities, towns, and villages. He will promote cultural and recreational events, all while preserving the history that makes DeRitter so unique. He's not just running for office, he's running for you, for all of us, to make DeRitter a place where we're even prouder to call home. So when you cast your vote, I hope you think of the man I know, the man who leads with integrity, works with determination, and cares deeply about this city. Together, we can make DeRitter stronger, brighter, and better for generations to come. I'm Crystal Reynolds, and I'm proud to support my husband, Danny Reynolds, as your next mayor.
I also feel it's how the small town embraces you also. So that's my husband continued working. So Ethan would have that opportunity because we didn't want to take that away from him
Yeah.
if he was that good. Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean?
No, I totally get it.
So going to LSU, like freshman year was tough. We had a fun ride because that was the year we went to Omaha.
That's a really good
And-
introduction to LSU, though.
Oh my
that
God.
first year.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Like
Jealous.
just the
So
longtime
fun.
friends and like the friends that group that freshman year, those baseball boys still have like a group chat because now they're national championships.
Yeah.
National champions. So Ethan, let me go back to being Rose Pine. When they live in this Rose Pine community or DeRidder, like their biggest goal, like they just want to play at the high school level. They want
Yeah.
to play on the high school baseball team. They want to play at, Gracie Pipe goes and uses the field to practice on, so she wants to go play softball for the high
yeah.
school. Like they cannot
She goes
wait.
to Chloe's camps.
Oh yes, yes.
And she's like, "Can I take lessons with Chloe?" And then she's in 5th grade now, and because our school at Rose Pine is 7 through 12,
Right.
really.
Oh yes.
So Chloe will coach her in 2 years. So she is incredibly excited.
Oh yes.
To go play for Rose Pine. And I was like, "Well, you have to try out for the team." And she goes, "I have to try out?" I said, "Yeah, you don't just like get to walk on and be an Eagle, like softball player. You have to go to a tryout where Chloe will be there rating you. She will be judging your abilities. And then you have to make the team." And all of a sudden she's like, "Oh my gosh, I don't know how I'm going to do that."
Yes.
I'm like, "I guess you better keep practicing."
I can't tell you how many times I looked Ethan in the face and like, get better then. Like, get better.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you. Get better. Go
Yeah.
practice more. He's like, practice more. Like, when I tell you though, we have neighbors, they're like, "Oh my God, he's up from like sun up to sundown."
The mental game is not going to do you any favors, man. Like, me coddling you is not going to serve you.
It's not.
Because you're up there by yourself. I'm not out there with you. You're up there by yourself or out on that field with like 8 other people. Me talking you up right now and like emotionally coddling you isn't going to help your mental game and toughness moving forward. When you miss something and you don't just instantly make the correction and move on from it, if you're sitting there beating yourself up the whole time and constantly focus on your own, inadequacies instead of moving forward with the game, like, and then your coach is going to be like, "Where's your head at?"
Yeah.
So the folks that are like, "It's okay, baby," like, ugh, Gracie's like, she'll get really frustrated because pitching, she does.
Oh gosh.
It's like
a pitching mom is so difficult.
Well, and I'm moving into my like healing phase of life. I'm becoming like softer / like just less abrasive, I think. And so I really want her to like have that mental toughness, but I'm also trying not to yell at her all the time.
Listen, if Ethan would
About
pitch,
pitching?
Ethan's not a pitcher. So
Oh.
that's a funny story. Like if you ask Jeff Smith, coach at Rose Pine High School, he's like, "Ethan's a pitcher." I'm like, "Ethan's not a pitcher." So like they would use Ethan to pitch, and I had to like start videoing because then I wouldn't talk.
Isn't it good that they're taller to pitch?
Well, I guess
Maybe.
you can't see the release. Ethan was tall. You couldn't see it come out of his hand. And
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So like I would video because I didn't want to talk. I didn't want him to hear me and I didn't want to distract him. So I'd video and then I couldn't talk because then you would hear me on the video, right?
Yeah.
So I remember it was junior year. Like all they talked about is winning a state championship.
Yeah.
Well, the year COVID hit, like our team was good. Rose Pine High School's team was
Oh,
good.
yeah.
Like we're going far. Well, and then
We went to
COVID
state
hit.
twice.
Well, that was Ethan's sophomore year. COVID hit. Junior year, they're like, we're winning. Like we're gonna go to state. I'm like, this is awesome. Let's go. So he started using Ethan as a pitcher, right? And as a pitcher's mom, like my eyes were closed.
Oh, yeah.
Like I couldn't watch this. And so junior year, we made it to the state championship game. And so Jeff Smith was like his classroom was next to mine. He's like, "Hey, I'm just gonna warn you, like Ethan's pitching."
Oh, gosh.
So I instantly like, "Oh my God, this is crazy." So then Ethan came home and said, "Hey mom, I'm warning you, like I'm gonna be pitching." And he's like, "I'm gonna pitch the whole game." And I'm like, "I know you're not a pitcher, but do you know you can only pitch 115 pitches in the game?" He's like, "What? I know that. No, I don't know that. I don't know." I'm like, "So if you want to get it done, you better get it done in 115 pitches." He got it done in 113. Maybe it was 114, but he literally got it done. We won by 1. So we won this
Yeah.
state
insane.
champion, which is crazy.
And what position does he play at LSU now?
Well, he was recruited as a catcher. He'd never pitched.
What?
Yeah, so Ethan's a catcher.
So he's just a utility, is what you're saying.
So
right
now they moved him from catcher because he's so big to the outfield.
Oh, okay. But
Yeah.
he's also fast as hell.
He's gotten fast.
Yeah.
He's gotten fast. Kudos to LSU.
Conditioning.
The training is amazing. And that's another reason why you want to go to LSU.
That
the
facility?
growth. The facility is beautiful. The coaches are
I
amazing.
saw the virtual tour.
Oh, it's just a great, great program.
Yeah.
But to be on the, like, the stress, I'm
I
sure.
think LSU should endorse this podcast episode.
That would be amazing.
Honestly.
So Ethan, that junior year before the game started, we're in line, and I guess I had a number or whatever, and the lady turned around, she's like, "Oh, are you Ethan Frey's mom?" And I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "Oh, we heard he's pitching." Well, I knew he was pitching. I'm like, "You do know he's a catcher, right?" She's like, "I know, but we heard he's pitching." And I'm like, "Well, he's a catcher." So I never said he wasn't pitching. I just was like, he's a catcher. So
and this is where now?
this was at the state championship
Oh, yes.
game in
So,
Sulphur.
is this when we...
lady from the other opposite team.
Oh.
Because
How did she know?
we were playing Doyle. They all heard Ethan Frey was pitching against Doyle. So needless to say, after the game, she comes running to find me and is like, "I knew he was pitching and you didn't tell me." I'm like, "I was not going to tell you." Like, this lady from the other team comes running for me like, "What?" So when they walked off and we won first state championship in Rose Pines history
Yeah.
in baseball,
And then did it again.
Ethan came off that field and looked at his coach and said, "We're doing this again and I'm pitching next year." So he warned me, and I'm like, and he said, "I'm going to do it in half the amount of pitches."
Quit.
So senior year, they kind of didn't pitch Ethan a lot. He did bullpens, but I guess they didn't want people to see him pitch, because people scout,
Mm-hmm.
He did. He then pitched. We went back to back. He pitched it in like 64 pitches, and we played the same team, Doyle, and we ruled them and played in 5 innings. And funny story, though. So senior year, Ethan was starting to get scouted from MLB clubs, and they would come to Rose Pine to watch Ethan. So the first
I love how they come to our town of Rose Pine.
scout texted Ethan, and he's like, "Mom, look at the text I got." I'm like, "It's a scam. It is a scam. No scout is going to text you." Come to find out, it wasn't a scam. This MLB scout texted and said, "Hey, I'm going to come to your high school game." What? I didn't even know that existed, right? So this scout came to Rose Pine and then found us at the game, and he's like, "I stopped at the local convenience store." I'm like, oh. Probably shouldn't have done that. He's
The
like,
one
"I
on the
needed-"
corner?
He's like, "I needed a drink." I'm like, and they're like, "Who are you? Haven't seen you." And he's like, "I told them who I was." I'm like, "Oh no.
We shouldn't have done that.
No.
You're in Rose Pine, baby.
Shouldn't have done that."
We know everyone.
Yes. So that year, a lot of scouts would come to watch Ethan play. And then Ethan would just tell them, like, "Look, come to the field, go in the right field corner, don't come talk to people, you'll be bombarded." And it was insane. It was crazy. I was blown away on how many people, scouts, clubs came and tried to
To a
recruit
high
him
school game.
to a high school game. So in the state championship game, I'm sitting, and the Washington Nationals
Quit.
was sitting next to me, and he's like, "I came to watch Ethan catch." And I'm like, "Hey, did you call the coach? Because we knew he was pitching." He's like, "No." I'm like, "Oh, well, you maybe should have called the coach." So he pulled this out, his radar gun, right? And he's like, oh, he's pitching really fast, and he's just warming up. And then he proceeds to tell me on how horrible Ethan is as a pitcher.
What?
Yes. Oh, and his hips aren't moving right. And I'm like, "I know he's not a pitcher. I've been saying this my whole life." Just because his mechanics, he doesn't have the mechanics of a pitcher, because that's not what he does.
Yeah.
It was hilarious. I was dying laughing. I'm like, I've been saying that.
Can I record you? Thank you. Amen. Keep going.
He's like, "I don't ever want to see this kid pitch ever again." I'm like,
What?
Same. The thing about Ethan and why he pitched is because people couldn't hit off of him. And he
Oh,
was
okay.
faster than a normal in 2A.
Mhm.
And he was tall, and you couldn't see his release.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people can tell you more about all of that. I just cannot.
Right.
Because I'm not a pitcher's mom. But
Well, okay, so you touched on something, and so now it's opened up the floodgates for my questions. But so you just talking about MLB recruiting. And
Yeah.
so now Ethan is a junior. So where are we at in the MLB recruiting process?
So I'll start with high school recruiting, which was really fun. And he had like 20 clubs reach out to him, recruiting him his senior year. So he had that big decision. Do I get drafted or do I go play at LSU? And of course, his whole goal is to go in the MLB. So I'm like, oh my God, you got to take the draft. And Dad's like, oh my gosh, you got to go to school.
Well, because what if you get hurt and then you have nothing to fall back on?
So that's why you needed to take the draft. So it was so conflicting. And ultimately, it was Ethan. And so draft week came and we kind of knew where he stood based on his agent. We knew what teams were highly touting him. We knew where he was going to go in the draft. So that summer, he was playing for in Kansas for the Liberals. It was in Liberal, Kansas for the BJs. Was it BJs? In Liberal. I think it was the BJs. I should know. He's played for a couple teams in the summer. And it was draft week, and he's like, I don't know. And I'm like, Ross, Ethan, we can't make it. Dad's schedule. And then we're like, oh gosh, draft week, we cannot not go. We weren't going to tell him. We were going to surprise him.
Yeah.
So Kate's like, hey, look, let me go up for draft week. I'll be with Ethan. We'll just do the family call. Because at this point, we weren't sure what Ethan was doing.
Yeah.
So we're like, nope, we're all going up. So we all went up. And all of a sudden, the freshman class, his kids that were going to be freshmen in LSU started calling us. The parents calling him. Parents started calling us saying, hey, so-and-so is taking his name out of the draft. We're like, why? Because the one boy who took his name out of the draft was like first or second round.
Yeah.
They want to go to LSU and they want to win a national championship.
Oh.
So then the one boy did it and it made the news and all over social media. And then the second boy pulled his name because they're all wanting to go to LSU to win a national championship.
Yeah.
So we're meeting for breakfast on a Sunday. Agents called us. Yeah. So Ethan's agent called us and said, hey, look, have your breakfast. We'll call you. Because, that's how you get drafted. Your agent's going to call you. So Ethan's running late. Ethan never runs late. I'm like, what are you doing? Where are you at? What is going on? He's like, I need to call you. I'm like, no, you need to be at breakfast because your agent's going to call us. And he's like, I need to call you. Well, he wanted to call us and say, because he wasn't going to tell us this, he's like, I think I need to pull my name from the draft. Of course, I had few choice words. Dad's like, oh, this is great. You need to go to school. And I'm like, dude,
I love how you and Dad did not agree.
We didn't agree. We did not. And it wasn't our decision.
Yeah.
And so no matter what decision it was made, we had to be okay with it because it's Ethan's career, not ours. We just gave him the resources to get where he was at. And I just knew this was his goal. So you're turning down your goal to go to LSU, which rightfully so, to win a national championship.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, you guys better make it worth your while. This better happen. Cause I don't know. You worked so hard to make it to this point.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know if he called us to tell us because maybe my reaction, because my facial reactions say a lot, and maybe he didn't want to do that. I don't know. So ultimately the decision is I think I'm going to pull my name from the draft. He told the boys in the dugout, my phone is here. If my agent calls me, just go ahead and answer it. But at this point, even if you pull your name from the draft, you still can be called. So he was still called. He just didn't take it because they wanted to go to LSU because it's LSU. And Jay Johnson is amazing. Whether we win a national championship or not, to play under that coach is the growth that you will get from that team is amazing. And so they did. All of the freshman class, a lot of them, some did not, some went, and they pulled their name. And then they went to freshman year at LSU. And then we kept winning, and we kept winning, and then we kept winning.
And to Omaha you went.
And we went to the regional, and then we said, oh my God, this can happen. Mm-hmm. So we're in the super regional, and we're like, we're going to win this. We are going to win this. Mm-hmm. But I remember it was the regional. The freshman boys took a picture together, and I said, all of you guys pulled your name from the draft for this. Make sure, go win it all.
Mm-hmm.
And they did. So after regional, you go to super regional, which was at home at LSU. Super regional, then they went to Omaha, which was an amazing experience in itself. Never experienced anything like it ever in my whole entire life. And then we won it all. So it was worth it for the boys to pull their name from the draft because Ethan won 2 state championships. The third year he won his national championship.
That's
so
awesome.
you'll never be able to take that away.
Yeah.
And he said, if I went to the draft and I took that, like I wouldn't have got a national championship ring. I wouldn't have been on the roster because you only can have 27 players on the roster.
Mm-hmm.
And he was one of the 27. So that was pretty cool that he got to be on the roster and be in Omaha and play. And so it was cool and it was worth it.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's junior year.
Yes.
So you're draft eligible for a couple ways. You're draft eligible by age. So you're 21. We never held Ethan back. So
and a lot of people do that for baseball. And
yes.
I understand, but then I also don't understand the logistics behind that. Could you maybe explain why people do that?
5th grade, we were approached and said, hey, this is a year you hold Ethan back. And I'm like, for what? They're like, for sports. We do that here. I'm like, what? I'm like, there's no way I'm not. So I'm like, Ross, I was approached. He's like, we're not holding Ethan back. He's good in school. But they do it because, could you imagine Ethan at Rose Pine High School being 19 years old or 18 years old as a senior?
Oh, Lord. Killing it.
6'6", 230.
Playing against a bunch of 14-year-olds.
A
Yeah.
grown man playing. Not in a
man.
bad way,
No,
but like
but
he's a
right.
grown.
That's why.
Right.
He's full
And it would
grown.
and it increases probably kids' chances to be recruited at the collegiate
Yeah.
level
Yes.
as well.
And experience and maturity.
Yeah.
And your muscles are different when you get a
Yeah.
little older. But we never held Ethan back. So he is what's called a true junior. He's never been redshirted. So freshman year, he played some. Sophomore year, he started playing more. So if people don't know, a lot of people don't know, is he started playing really well and he started playing a lot. And then he got injured.
Mm-hmm.
He dislocated his shoulder and tore his labrum. He didn't take a medical redshirt. He chose to continue to play in case the team needed him. He got some at-bats, some big at-bats. In the SEC tournament, he got a really big at-bat, got a double, scored a run, made us win that game. But so that kind of hurt him in a way because he didn't get the experience and the playing time. So now it's junior year, it's draft year, and it is so exciting. Like just...
Are we as bold to say like some teams that we're hoping for? Not saying that
like if
anybody
you had your choice.
If you had your pick of teams, let's say top 3 for mom.
So the funny thing is I love the Chicago Cubs because I was born and
you
raised.
do. I knew you were gonna say that.
That's one of the
Oh
only
my
MLB
gosh.
teams I've seen. That and the Astros.
So it's funny because senior year,
I'm sure Caitlin's hoping for the Astros.
so the Astros, I mean, obviously,
That
they're
would be
Texas
awesome,
Rangers. They're
yeah.
right there.
Do you know how many Rose Pine families would come see like E. Fry play?
Oh, I would go straight to Houston.
Right?
Okay, but they don't
Straight
get to
to
go
Houston.
straight to Houston and play. In the minors, you go to all their little training facilities,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
not in here, you know. So when the Cubs reached out to him his senior year, I, of course, was freaking out and running around the house. And, of course, when the Minnesota Twins reached out, like all Ross is from Minnesota, all that family was all excited.
Yeah.
So that's been fun. But there is one team that's really, really high on him, and they've been high on him since, like, senior year.
Are we going to say the name or we're not going to say the name because you don't want to jinx it?
Well, I definitely don't want to jinx it. So if he chooses to go in the draft this year, because you can,
Okay.
you're eligible junior year because he's going to be 20. So 21. So if you're a sophomore and 21, you're draft eligible.
And his birthday is this coming weekend.
And his birthday, he'll be 21.
Look, I see a Pisces with me.
I'm not big on signs, so I wouldn't
I'm
even
not
know what
either.
he is. So.
I don't even know what I am.
I just know I'm an Aquarius, but no, I'm a Taurus. Look, I don't know. What's Aquarius? What? I'm a Taurus.
See?
I don't know.
We're not big on it.
I'm not big on signs. So there's so many other routes. If you're a JUCO, you're eligible every year. Long story short. So at a D1, you're eligible if you're 21. So if you're a sophomore and 21, you're eligible. So a lot of the sophomores were eligible last year. A lot of them drafted. So junior year, you're draft eligible. Your stock is higher if you get drafted junior year. If you choose to come back senior year, your stock, which is your money, the bonuses go down because you have no leverage.
Mm-hmm.
So this is it. Like you have to be drafted junior year.
Yeah.
So they meet with you in the fall. The clubs interview you and go through the process and talk to your agent. And so.
Unless you're Paul Skeens. And
Oh, Lord. Paul Skeens is amazing. Dylan Cruz is amazing. Like, that whole class was amazing. Like, for Ethan, he said, for me to sit in the dugout and
Tommy
watch
the Tank.
and learn. Oh, we love Tommy, too.
He's my favorite.
And Ethan still talks to him because they all have this group chat, as I was saying, of the national champions. And, like, they'll always be connected. Like, they'll always be connected. So, it's been fun. LSU's been a fun ride. The coaches are amazing. The families this year are amazing. Like,
I know you're talking about all the moms.
The moms. So we're doing. I'm gonna plug your boutique. So I saw, and I got the idea off of you. We saw that a boutique crawl or a bus came to you, right? Mm-hmm. And they posted pictures, and I'm like, how cool would it be if the LSU moms did a boutique crawl? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Brittany. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Yay!
Hope your day's special.
Sweet. Aww.
Thank you.
If you guys don't notice or know, her husband just came in to sing her happy birthday.
And John.
Oh, John.
His
Hi,
woman.
John. I didn't see you back there.
I heard the door and I was like, crap.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
That was so sweet.
That was perfect. I love it.
So I have a question. My baby's only 6. We're in 6U T-ball. So like our level is totally different. But I want to nourish her and nurture her. Not Tata, but I want her to get where she's going to go. If this is what she wants to do. My baby says she's going to play softball forever. So let's do it.
Yeah.
What advice do you have on building their confidence in themselves
As 6-year-olds?
as 6, even at her age, because she's got it. Not that she's the best 6-year-old out there, but this is our 3rd year. She's starting to get older, starting to
Third
get...
year?
Yeah.
Dang, this baby's... She
She
going
started
pro.
at 4.
Wow.
Yeah, 6U.
She's going pro, Brittany.
She's so funny. But, you know, she's her coach is putting her on third base at practice, and she's actually paying attention to the ball.
And third is hard.
So she's
it's
not
hard.
picking the dandelions in the outfield.
She's not picking the dandelions
Listen,
anymore.
If they're not picking the dandelions or doing cartwheels out there,
Oh, I know.
She's
you've
not.
got some athleticism.
And she's not
going.
anymore. Her big dream last year was to get from outfield to infield. And as far as it's looking, she's going to be infield this year. So she's like pumped.
Oh,
So
I
like
love
she's
it.
got the mechanism. She's got it. But she's not sure of herself. Like she gets out there and it's almost like she's worried that she's going to do it wrong and people are looking.
I think that's an age thing.
Yeah.
And at 6, I think it's going to take maturity and for her to get a little older.
Yeah.
And so, like, you're just going to have to tell her, like, drop that at bat. So if you didn't do good at that at bat, guess what? You get another turn.
Yeah.
You get another turn.
It's okay,
So just go do better
yeah.
the next bat. I say do better, but just go show them like who you are.
Yeah.
So listen, I doubt my
Be
family is
better,
listening.
like,
They're
yeah.
all busy and Ethan's in school. But like I will send like Ethan scriptures and
Oh.
like look, and they do very well at the collegiate level
Yeah.
to train them and to teach them, and they bring in mental health counselors and all that. And it takes a lot because when you're that age or when you're in pitching at Gracie's age and you're like, oh my God, they're all watching and I just didn't do good.
Yeah.
And I
Unruly
didn't
parents too from both sides.
Oh.
I called out. I didn't call out our team because we all did it, but last year one of our little girls went to bat and something happened and everybody went, oh.
Yeah.
And I went, it just popped in my head because I went, oh, too. And I went, Y'all,
Don't do that.
imagine being, it was like she went to go catch it and she missed it and we went, oh, because we were so excited for her.
Yes.
And so that was our it wasn't like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I went, y'all, imagine being that little girl on that side of the fence and you messed up and you just
Well, I
heard
know, but
every
that's
single
gonna
person
happen.
in the
It's
bleachers.
gonna get so
but
much
it just
worse.
made
It's gonna
me
get
like,
so much worse,
I know,
yes.
but it just made me like, we didn't stop, but we just
Right.
kind of like,
Yeah.
maybe not all in unison go, ah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we were like, all the moms kind of sat there and was like, dang.
Yeah.
Because I did it too. I said it and I was like,
Yeah,
oh.
I do it.
I know.
But it's a natural reaction.
It is.
reaction, but like that is fine.
Yeah.
For me, the whole in the crowd thing, I become less tolerant when it's intentional disruption of the opposite team
Yeah.
/ players because these are all kids.
Yeah.
I went to an all-star tournament last year where the other team, literally the parents, were standing up and all stomping on the bleachers and clapping increasingly louder and faster as our pitcher was pitching to disrupt the pitch intentionally. She's 10. So I have a problem, and I know other people are like, that's just the game. And that's fine if that's your game,
Right.
but that's not my game.
And it's
Right.
fine
And
if
that's
it's a
somebody's
dugout.
10-year-old kid. And listen, I'm not going to fight you. I'm not going to go to jail over you. I'm going to pray real hard for you, though,
Yeah.
because I would never do that to somebody's 10-year-old kid. And honestly, some of our parents on our team started doing it in retaliation, and I was embarrassed. I have secondhand embarrassment for all those people.
Right.
Because that's a kid. Now, it's going to happen, and you have to teach your kid that will happen because
Right.
there are teams like that.
Yeah.
But at the collegiate level and even at the high school, I mean, these people don't control themselves in public. I don't know why, but they just don't.
Right.
They're going to yell, especially collegiate, because those kids are like, they're not like real people anymore. Collegiate and professional,
Oh yeah.
they're
People
not
think
real
they're, like,
people anymore,
Right.
right? They're just
celebrities or
players.
something, yeah.
And so you can say whatever you want, you can do whatever you want, you can hold whatever sign you want, like you can say and do anything. So to prepare mentally for that level of criticism
Right.
is incredibly difficult. I think honestly, your mental game has to be just as good, if not better,
Right.
than your athletic game.
So somebody told me this, if I can give a piece of advice, and it has stuck with me for years. When your kid goes up to bat, they don't go up to bat and going, I'm going to strike out.
Yeah.
They don't go up there saying, this is the bat I'm striking out. They don't do that. So, and I went, oh my God, you're right. They don't go to the outfield and say, I'm going to drop this ball. This is the time I'm going to drop it.
No.
No.
And I went, you're right. And they are kids. They are still kids. They're still kids, and we just want them to be the shiznaz. We want our kid
I want
to
them
be
to
the best.
feel like they're the shiznaz.
Exactly.
Yes.
Like
I don't even care if you are the shiznaz.
that's what I was about to say. I don't care.
just want you to feel and know in your
Yes.
core that you are the shiznaz, so that even after this softball life wears off, that you still go
You
into
are
the world
cool.
knowing you are awesome.
So, you know,
Yeah.
they say all the time, like, don't get in the car and start yelling at your kid
Right.
or discuss. So, like, my husband said this to me yesterday on the way home. Stop talking baseball. When your kid gets in the car, talk about something else or pick out something great they did. That Every
Yeah.
kid's going to do something great that day.
And it's so hard.
And they're
because
so hard on themselves.
all
Oh my
you
God,
wanna
they beat
do-
themselves up.
Yes. Well, and it's not even that I'll start the conversation of softball, but she'll be like, did you see what's, this happened and this happened? Oh, And so then I'm like, okay, well, what did you do to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
So it's not like, so I'm guilty of
Guilty.
having that conversation so many times and being like, but I try to make it more of, what did we learn
Yeah.
Yeah.
from that? Instead of yelling about it and being like, well, that kind of sucked, didn't it?
And as moms, we want to fix it. Dads are different. I literally had this conversation with my husband yesterday. Dads are different. Dads process things differently than the moms, and the moms want to fix it.
Yeah.
When our kids are down or they didn't have a good day or they didn't have a good at bat, because you cannot be 100% at all time. You're
No.
never going to have 1,000 batting average. You're never going to be perfect unless you're Paul Skeens. However,
I gotta look up this Paul Skeens.
Are you kidding me?
do you know Livy Dunn?
No.
Oh,
No.
she's a gymnast. She's dating him.
You don't follow anything LSU, huh?
Oh, look up Paul Skeens. So he was drafted 1-1. It's called 1-1, first round, first pick. And then 1-2 was Dylan Cruz, and they were on the same team freshman year, Ethan's freshman year. They're really good. They're a unicorn, which is...
I started following LSU baseball since Ethan's
yay.
I'm sure. Okay, did you see the meme about Paul Skeens being drafted and he's sitting next to his girlfriend and she's like, "Oh my gosh, congrats!" and he's like,
Oh, that's not drafted. That was his rookie of the year.
"Oh, rookie of the year." I'm sorry, wrong one. But no, you didn't see the memes and everything. I can't believe you didn't see that when you're in Louisiana. The
But
algorithm.
that's a
missed
lot of
Lacey.
pressure put on him, and you want...
Oh yeah.
I mean,
I didn't think anything about it, but apparently the rest of the world was like, he doesn't love her. And I'm like,
no, he's
that's
uncomfy
what
and the
you-
world is watching. Like,
it's all those mental toughness lessons coming out.
Yeah.
Don't show it.
And LSU does a great job at preparing their athletes for mental toughness. And
Yeah.
because you know what? Guess what? In the minors, in the major leagues, you're not going to play all the time. So guess what? You're going to have to sit at the bench.
Yeah.
So, and that's just, it's when our kids are down,
Yeah.
we don't like seeing it.
yeah.
And then it's like, oh my God, why did my kid not play? I saw a collegiate mother get mad because her child was not playing.
Oh my gosh.
I think it's fine for you to have that knee-jerk reaction because that's your knee-jerk reaction is protect your kid, you know? I just don't think you should ever bring it to anyone else's attention because then it has negative impacts on your kid.
I literally had to say to one mom, like, I need to be positive.
Yeah.
Like, we need to be positive. This is a business. Like, please don't be negative.
Even at the
I can't
youth
be
level.
drawn in. Yeah,
Like
at the youth
at
level,
the youth
yes.
levels, Gracie is 10 and you'll never see ever in the history of ever. Have I ever walked up to a coach, talked to a coach, anything and said, why isn't my kid playing or why is my kid playing in that position or, you know, when is my kid, you know, you'll never, ever, ever see me doing that ever. And a couple of times I will admit I probably should have because I think I'm going to say this carefully. Because I just think perhaps it was out of daddy ball things. And somebody probably should have put them in their place. But I just make it a habit to where I don't want my kid's not like the best player on the field. Like, I know that. She's doing it because she loves it.
Right.
And she is good at it. She's not the best one on the field, so I'm not going to act like she's the best one on the field. I'm not that arrogant, you know? And I just think if anybody's listening and your kid plays youth sports and you have in the past gone to your coaches and complained about positions or playtime, maybe try 6 months not doing that and seeing what happens.
So Ross was coaching Ethan when they were maybe 7 or 8, and he got cornered by 2 dads and said, why did my son not play?
Oh, man.
Now, you know, in that youth sports, each kid on the roster has to play a certain amount. And Ross looked at him and said, your son looked at me and said he was tired from playing the basketball tournament that you just brought him from, and he wanted to wait to play.
Yeah.
So I played him the minimum amount because that's what he asked. Like, oh my gosh, like,
Go talk to your kid.
ask your kid, like, oh, just encourage your kid. Like, it's
Or they're-
hard.
yeah.
It's hard.
You know?
And kids are so mean to each other sometimes on the field.
Well, and not
too.
just that. Darryl, I mean, he coached last year for the first time ever. He coached baseball for youth league for Rose Pine. And they won the championship.
Oh, I love it.
I think they went undefeated or lost maybe one game the entire season.
Wow.
And he's like, I'll never do it again, never head coach again because I got to leave out on a high, right?
Oh, okay.
But he was telling me, he'd come home and tell me stories about this dugout. This is 12U boys. And he's like, the things that were said
Ooh.
by these boys in this dugout. Because, you know, my Bradley's like this sweet, like he's just in that phase of innocence still.
Right.
And I'm trying to appreciate that as long as I possibly can.
Absolutely.
Because, and you know, oftentimes I struggle and I'm like, he should be advancing with all these other kids. But then I'm like, but that's of the world, right? So like,
Yeah.
I should be treasuring the innocence or whatever. But the fact that he was around all these boys and they were talking in the fashion in which they were talking, you'd have these boys, let me just tell you, you're going to be shocked because y'all have good relationships with your kids. And I have good relationships with my kids. Not everybody has that. But these parents would come up and start like lecturing or talking to several of the boys. And the boys would be like, shut your pie hole. Oh, yeah.
To their parent?
Worse. I'm leaving out the expletives.
I thought you were going to say that they were talking like mean things to each other, but then this flipped to they're saying this to the parent.
Yeah, the child to the parent. I'm like, what?
I'm appalled.
Yeah, and so like, so your playtime.
If you guys could all see our faces right now, we're like, what?
Yeah, that laugh was like, I'm baffled.
Yeah. So honestly, and a couple, I think, and not just the parent situation, but also a couple of the kids would say horrible things to their fellow teammates. And then when their parents showed up, they did not do that.
Right.
And so I think sometimes the parents have no idea
clue.
what's going on in that dugout. And that might dictate some coaching decisions too with your playtime, but the way that you treat your teammates, maybe. And so I would give that option as well if your kid's not getting a lot of playtime. And they might be showing a little bit of sass.
You know, on our level, I never played softball.
I didn't play softball
I didn't play
either.
softball. The
I
coach
wish I
played
did.
baseball. So if he is putting Gentry in a different spot out there at 6
Oh,
years
you
old,
have to have faith in your coach.
Right.
I have faith
If
in
not,
him.
change your
You
team.
know, and we've been with him for 3 years, so there's a respect level
Yeah.
there. Like, you do your thing. And I realized the first year I volunteered as dugout mom. If you are sitting on those bleachers and you have a problem with anything the coach is doing, please come volunteer to be dugout mom for a 6U
Yeah.
team. Because you will understand that sometimes that coach is trying to keep those babies under control.
It's hurting cats. They're
It's hurting
six.
cats.
They just want to go play in the dirt.
They
Yeah.
just want to
They want to hold the bat
Yeah.
and use it as a lightsaber.
like
They do.
literally
They're so
we are
cute.
trying to keep them alive because we have to remind them, hey, don't swing the bat, there's heads around, don't swing the bat, you know.
Yep.
So I can imagine even at 11, 12, Bradley's 10, 11.
Bradley's 11.
11.
He plays 12U.
Imagine they just came from a basketball tournament. They're hyped up on Mountain Dew because their parents got to keep them going. They had a pixie stick. They had their Hunt Brothers hunk of pizza, and they're ready to climb the fence. You know, so like really, sometimes unless there are bad coaches, I'm not saying that, but sometimes like if you have a problem with how the teacher is doing it or how the coach is doing it, go volunteer to sit in the dugout, like y'all said.
Right.
Like go hang out in the dugout for a minute and. You'll either change your perspective or do something to implement a change.
And there's a difference between doing that and being an advocate for your child.
Right.
Yes.
I do feel we need to
absolutely.
absolutely be advocates for our
Yes.
children, especially in today's day and age.
Yes.
But it's, again, how you approach the
Yeah.
situation.
Yes.
And don't do it at the collegiate level. do not go
No, my
talk to the
gosh.
coach. Don't do
No.
it. Don't do it.
But you know,
Have you ever talked to the LSU? Not in a correction way, but like, have
Oh.
you ever spoken to the LSU?
Like
coach?
interaction, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
of course, freshman year when we all got to go on the field, it was like, hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
So every time I see Jay Johnson, I'm like, hey, I'm Brandi Frey, Ethan's mom. And he finally said, Brandi, I know who you are. I know who Ethan is. You do not need to introduce yourself like that every time. But he has 40 players, and how do you
how is
always?
I know.
He's good. Like he
He
remembers my
knows.
face. So I kind of stopped doing that. Or just like if we have at a baseball banquet, hey, how you doing? Hey, thanks
Yeah,
for
yeah.
being an amazing coach to my child. Like he loves it
Yeah.
at LSU. Like just
I
that.
just wondered what the relationship was at a collegiate level.
It's scary. It's
Yeah.
scary. It's like fist bumping neck, you know. So
Yeah.
the way LSU now has the field, if you've ever been to an LSU game, at the end of the game, everybody would go down to the right, the wall on the right first base line. And all the players would sign the balls and the posters and the hats and all that, and kids would be swarmed. Because they changed the field up and they put seating there now in a net, that does not take place.
Oh.
So parents now have a pass, and in order, we now meet our child on the field. So we go through a certain door, have a pass. It's the only way you can get on the field. They check it, thinking, oh, they don't check it. They do. And then you get to go on the field and talk to your child.
Yeah.
Oh,
Um,
that's so cool.
so then coach passes and you fist bump. Hey, how you doing? Hey, I'm good. Talk to the wives. Hey, how you doing? Good. Just stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or like at a game,
Yeah.
we go see the coaches' wives, give them a hug. Hey,
Yeah.
how you
Yeah.
doing? Stuff like that. But not like...
No.
No,
So
we're not cornering anybody.
going on the field, and I'm sure it's happened before you got to go on the field and say hey to your baby, but do you have a moment, like a surreal moment of like, my baby's here, like my
Probably all the
baby
time.
is on the LSU ball field and is almost like I keep saying celebrity, but like holy crap, he made it. Like he hasn't made it fully, but like
Yeah.
he's here.
So I think that was all freshman year when I cried. Like, I was
Yeah.
just so appreciative. Like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
He wanted to go to LSU. I do have an epiphany moment. So not being raised and growing up here, we have our favorite teams. And our thing was when we get stationed somewhere, we need to support the home team.
Yeah.
So when we were at Fort Hood, we supported UT,
Right,
University of Texas, all the time. We get here, of course, we're going to support LSU. We're going to love LSU,
Yeah.
Right.
So freshman year, Mardi Gras, I was still a teacher. And all the girls, all my tribe, my teacher friends are like, hey, let's go to a game. It's during Mardi Gras. Is that home? I'm like, perfect. Let's go. We load up the car. We make a girls' couple days of it. We go shopping. So we walk in. Depends on how you walk into Alex Box. We took the stairs that go up to Alex Box that bring you to the top level. So we took the stairs going up, and I had about 6 girlfriends with me, and they're all like, wow, my grandpa would bring me to the game. Oh my God, this is amazing coming, because we went through the parent gate at that time, so they thought that was cool. And then we're sitting in the parent section, and Ethan comes on the field, and he gets ready to play, and my one friend starts crying. I'm like, wait, why are you crying? She's like, my grandpa would bring me to the games every year. My dad would bring me to the games every year, but to have my best friend's kid playing on the team. I didn't know anybody ever playing on the team. We supported LSU, but now we've
It's
taught
different.
him, like our student is on the field.
Honestly, knowing you, like we're friends now. We met a
Yeah,
few weeks ago.
absolutely.
So we're friends now. My mom worked with your husband. I went to school
Yeah.
with Caitlin.
I've already cried.
I
once this
can't
morning.
wait to go. We already wanted to go to an LSU baseball game. My husband's a huge LSU fan. But it's going to hit different for me now because I'm like, that's my friend's kid on the freaking field.
I know.
Yeah.
That is a big deal. That's a big deal. And coming from such a small town where we're so sports centered. I mean, I live in DeRidder, but in Leesville, it was Anacoca at the time that pumped out the athletes, kind of like Rose Pine does now. That's so cool. That's what
Yeah.
everyone dreams of. And
Yeah.
to see a little small town Rose Pine boy,
Right.
making it, that's huge. It's huge.
So, of course, freshman year he played a little. Sophomore year, I
Yeah.
said he was injured. So, don't read social media because one day they're hating on Ethan Frey and the next day he's the
Yeah.
world. But everyone's like, oh my God, his power, he should hit home runs. Well, the problem is last year when he had a torn labrum, he couldn't hit. I don't even know how he hit the way he did.
Yeah.
So the very first home run that he hit this year, I had 85 texts from 85.
I think
that's
texted you. I think I was
ridiculous.
one of your 85 or your second or the second home
I'm
run.
exaggerating. It was probably half of
It was
that, but
probably
it
a lot,
was
though.
But
it
that's
was
still a lot.
a lot.
I think it was just surreal to see such a huge display for somebody that came from where we're from.
Yeah.
and the support that they have for my child
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like a common theme.
is
Yeah.
crazy. And I said to Ethan, so I'm sorry if you text Ethan and he doesn't answer you back. He just doesn't because he's just so busy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so Ethan, how many texts did you get? He's like, well, I had 92 DMs and I had and then I had X amount of texts. And I'm like, did you answer any back? He's like, Mom, how could I have? I just couldn't. But when you're doing bad, guess what?
Oh, yeah.
You have 952
Yeah.
Oh.
death threats.
What?
Oh, one of our players, love him, missed a ball. And when I tell you in his DM, that's not necessary. That's just not
No.
necessary. It's not.
That's
So-
fanatical. It's weird.
So I told Ethan, stop reading social media. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous. And you just can't do it because it's just LSU fans are good fans
Or
or they're diehard LSU fans.
Yeah.
So just like I'm very appreciative that Ethan is playing at one of his dream schools. I'm very appreciative of his coaches and the growth that he has made from freshman year to now. Last year, he is a huge guy who likes to work out. Last year, he didn't get to work out the way he normally does because of his injury. This year, I can tell that's changed. He's become faster. He's become stronger. He's matured. So the sport does that to you. So you, like, if I could have journaled, I should have just journaled. I should have just journaled because from now, like when Gracie, and she has moments like a good moment,
Right.
I wish I journaled it. Because then you can go back and like, look how much you've
You
grown.
could write a book
I should write a book.
on raising
You
a
should.
D1
I should.
athlete.
So now it's all different. If I could encourage a mom to encourage their children not to go D1 from the start because the rules have changed. Now you can do JUCO, which is your junior college, and it doesn't count against your 4-year eligibility for D1.
Oh.
Go to JUCO, get your 200 at-bats each year, and then get transferred in. Because right now, freshmen going into D1 is very, very rare because the transfer portal right now is ridiculous. So yes, it's cool that your child gets recruited from LSU. Your child's going to sit.
Yeah.
Now, if your child is okay with sitting, great. By all means, go for it.
Yeah.
Freshman year, Ethan had 19 at-bats.
Because 40 is a lot of players.
And next year, it's down to 34.
Yeah.
So the chances of a freshman, incoming freshman, being on an LSU or LA Tech or a McNeese, it's going to be slim.
Now, let me ask you this, and I don't know if you know this answer because you're not the coach, but does seniority, like senior status, junior status, do those trump talent at the collegiate level?
No.
Do they have an obligation to play you as a junior, senior if you are not as good as a freshman, sophomore?
No.
So they'd play the best 9,
The best.
regardless of age.
Regardless of age, regardless of who you are, unless you're Paul Skeens and De La Cruz and you're already the best, you're playing anyways. It's a business. They're there to win.
Okay.
And they're going to put the best on the team.
Okay.
And also, it's very situational too. So if they put Ethan against left-handed pitchers. So if Ethan hits off of left-handed pitchers, I'm going to put Ethan in that spot. Jay is very situational, and he's just so smart at the game. And all the coaches are.
Yeah.
Some are situational. But no, talent trumps
Okay.
everything.
Because, coming from high school, that doesn't always happen at all levels because sometimes they say, like, senior parents would get mad because you're not giving my kid as much playtime. And I had this conversation with Chloe the other day, and she was like, honestly, and right now at Rose Pine for softball, I only know because I had this conversation last week. She's like, our younger girls, they're like all travel.
Right.
And she said they're so talented. So she not saying anything against like junior, senior, sophomore, whatever. She's like, but our younger girls that are coming in are going to be in 3 years, our team, unstoppable.
So we could always tell the kids who did the travel ball compared to like Dixie Youth, because in travel ball, it's a different level and you play more games. So you get more experience. You get more at bats.
There's just a level of, I feel like,
Yeah.
decorum, like a level of like professionalism that you teach your kids in travel. Like, you hold your bag like this. You don't go in and act like this. You don't talk like this.
Some.
Well, in any program that I would have my kid
Yeah.
in, they would be doing that because I'm not here to pay to be embarrassed.
And it's
Yeah,
so
and-
expensive. So listen, this is what I say. Travel ball is getting younger and younger. We wouldn't have been able to do travel ball when Ethan was really young.
Mm-hmm.
Like
They have 5-year-old travel ball teams.
Like that's so, and even with the travel cheer.
We got asked last year, not because we're so good, because they needed other people.
I will say if you're having a 5 or 6 year old travel ball team, that is essentially, if I wanted my kid just to play all the time, my kid wanted to play all the time, I feel like that's a really great way. I mean, if you have the money and you want to do it,
Right.
and your kid wants to play all the time, go start a 6U travel ball team. Who cares?
Yeah.
Like, have fun.
Gentry's
You know?
like, I want to go swimming this summer, Mama. And I'm like, you're 6.
No,
Go do
I
it."
want to spend every weekend at the ball field. Like I'm crazy.
You will spend every weekend
Yeah,
at the
I
ball field
love
when you
it. I
travel.
want
think it's
to.
fun.
We've done this for like 3 years now, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm in it for the long haul. I bought the special chairs. Like we bought the what is it called? It's the Icy Breeze. Have you heard
Oh,
about this?
No.
So you put ice in it.
Oh.
And it's an air conditioner with tubes on it. And so like straight up at the ball field, I'm sticking that thing under my shirt.
Oh, you need that in Louisiana.
Yeah.
You need that in Louisiana.
It's an icy cool. And
Oh,
all you
wow.
gotta do is find a bag of ice and
Why
stick
did
it
I
in
not
there.
invent that?
It's a lot of money. It's expensive though. Like literally.
It would be worth it.
It is. Because you can stick it up your sleeve.
Oh my gosh.
You can put it in the dugout and have both hoses like
Oh my
pointed at the girls to
gosh.
keep them cool. Yeah, Icy Breeze, man.
It is-
They need to sponsor this episode. I'm
Ha.
just saying.
Do you know who invented it? Are we local who invented it?
No,
Oh.
I don't think so. I think it's a U.S. based
Oh.
thing.
So we need to contact LSU for a sponsorship.
Icy
Oh.
Breeze.
Icy Breeze.
Yeah.
Look, I'm trying. So I started saying like the moms on the teams just
Mm-hmm.
are something special. So like embrace your moms, have fun,
Yeah.
go do stuff
Yes.
outside of ball because I do feel it sucks you in and that's all you do. Like go.
Right.
So when Ethan started this ball, like I had to reinvent myself. I had to figure out who I was.
So I was going to ask you. Okay, first of all, back it up because you used to teach and you don't teach anymore.
Uh-huh.
And I know this story because you told me this at Bunko because we're Bunko queens now.
We love
Lacey's in
Bunko.
it. Lacey's in the Bunko now too, in the Bunko world. But I want you to share how you knew you were done teaching.
Okay. So it goes back to Ethan. I do have another child. Her name is Caitlin.
I know
love
we haven't even
Caitlin.
talked much about Caitlin. Caitlin's getting married.
That's going to be another episode.
She's super chill. She doesn't.
We love
like,
Caitlin because everyone's like, oh, wait, you have two kids? I do have 2 kids. So it goes back to Ethan and Caitlin. And for years, I'm like, I'm done. And so my grandmother turned 100. So
Oh my gosh.
yes. So Caitlin and I got on a plane, went to Florida, went to my grandmother's 100th birthday. And so this year of teaching, like my days were dwindled because I took all the days in freshman year, all the days in sophomore year. And I try to always make sure I take days for Caitlin too, to be able to go do a mom-daughter something. So I knew this year I was very tight on my days off. So I come back after me and Kate went to Florida for my grandma's 100th. And I say I was having a midlife crisis. I don't know what it was. Long story short, Ethan got a dog. I told him get a girlfriend. He can send him home when he's done with them. Instead, he figured he would need a dog. Stupid move. Anyways.
Wait, you told him to get a girlfriend?
Yes, they could go home. He doesn't have to worry about girls where the dog is a lot of high maintenance. And now he has to figure out how to take care of a dog.
He got a dog, and you told him instead,
He shoulda got a
You should have got a
girlfriend.
girlfriend. So he still doesn't have a girlfriend, but he has a dog.
He has no girlfriends,
But he has a dog.
but he has a dog.
You said girlfriends?
well, hey, yeah. Yeah.
Dylan left.
Yeah, sure. I mean, no, he doesn't have a girlfriend. He's not interested. I've tried to set him up. I even found a girl that would be a perfect wife. He told me, Mom, stop.
She's like arranging it. I love it.
He's such a good soul. Both of my kids are good souls.
He's just
Yeah.
focused right now.
He's
Mom.
very focused. So he got this dog, right? So he went to go take a shower. I put his apartment. Oh my gosh, y'all! Goes to the story. His room is huge. He has a hallway. On one side, he has a full bath. On the other side, he has a full bath.
Mm-hmm.
His bedroom has 2 full baths, 2 full showers. Like, it's crazy. So anyways, long story short, he didn't want to put the dog in the kennel, so he put the dog in the bathroom. Didn't realize he put the wallet on the counter. He called me beside himself that the dog got his wallet, tore all his money up, tore his LSU ID up. And all I was worried about was, oh my God, how's your military ID?
I'd be worried about the dog, y'all. I'm like, did the dog survive the credit cards?
The dog survived. So
She's like, dog freaking survived, Brittany.
so I'm like, okay.
What kind of dog is this?
It is like a Catahoula lab mix. His
Oh,
name
that's
is-
a
lab's
big
gonna
dog.
Eat everything.
It's a big dog.
Well, I guess
Is
it
this
was
a
a
dorm or an
Rut,
apart- like an
45.
apartment?
So it's a 4-bedroom apartment
Okay.
that he shares with some of the other baseball boys.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, Ethan's ID had already expired. Well, in the military world, your ID cannot expire,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I was freaking out because he needed a piece of paperwork. We finally called the place in Baton Rouge. I think it was a National Guard unit. Yes, they'll go ahead and do Ethan's ID. Because that affects everything. That affects insurance and all of this.
Deers and all that.
Deers and all of it.
Yeah.
So you had to bring the paper. We couldn't send the paper. So I'm like, well, Ross couldn't go. He was in the middle of a rotation. I'm like, Ross, like, I got to take this paper. Like, this trumps my job. I have no days. I'm going to be, like, docked money at this point.
Now, how does that work when you're a teacher and you have to take a day and you don't have any days?
So at this point, I had days, but that would mean it would affect me at the end of the year. So when they just dock your pay. A lot. A lot. So I'm like, you know what? I made it into this big deal that I didn't need to make it into. I was so beside myself. I just had a lot going on. I had to take a half a day because I was going to go meet Ross on post to get this paper to take it to Baton Rouge. I get in the car and I said, I'm not doing this to myself. I'm not. I can't. I was so stressed between teaching and making sure my kids were taken care of. So on the way.
And what were you teaching at the time?
So I was teaching, this year I taught a 7th grade English block, 2 senior Englishes, and 2 finance classes.
Good Lord.
So I get in the car and I called Caitlin and I called Ethan and I said, I think I'm done with teaching. I'm going to resign. And it is about time. I got a total different reaction. I kind of was hoping I got that. And they were like, Mom, good for you. We are so excited. You can now focus on a wedding and you can focus on baseball and you can go to midweek games, or we can go to Caitlin's, or we can take a cruise. Or
we can do whatever you want.
Do whatever we want. So
And now that he's in college, I'm assuming everything is financially taken care of with him in a scholarship or whatever.
Right.
So it's no longer financially daunting in that capacity for
on the baseball side, but we
now
still
wedding
pay
side.
for hotels. We still pay for travel.
Okay, yeah.
I thought travel ball was expensive.
Oh, yeah.
No. College is expensive because you go play in college towns and the hotels are really expensive.
Yeah.
Omaha is really
Why
expensive.
don't you get a camper?
We have said that for years and now we're too late into the mix. So by the time I get in the car and I was going to head on post, Ross called the place, worked out. He was able to scan the paperwork and I'm like, I call
You're
Ross.
still, like, mentally.
Yeah. So I call Ross. I said, okay, I'm not coming to you. I'm going to the school board and I'm going to resign. I'm going to ask about it and I'm going to resign. And if I sign my paperwork and I go to the car and I cry, I will walk back in and I will tear it up and I will call it a day and I will continue.
Because you can.
Yeah.
So what is the wait time between when you decided you were done versus submitting paperwork versus signing it?
I literally got in my car and drove to the school board. So within an hour, I made that decision.
So your school didn't even know?
No.
Oh my God. This is so me. I would so do that.
The school did not know. So this is how it worked.
Okay.
I went and talked to Joey Bartz, who was our principal, who's now at the school board.
Yeah.
Who I went to college with and did my master's. So we had that little connection.
Really?
Yes. I begged him to come to Rose Pine too. So like I said, I walked in his office and he's like, oh my God, are you okay? And I'm like, I'm not. I said, I think it's my turn to resign. Tell me about it. And so we talked about it. And I told him exactly what I told Ross. I'm going to sign the paperwork. If I go to my car and crying, can I come back and tear it up? He's like, absolutely. So I go to my car and I am bawling, you guys, from relief. I felt the weight lifted off of my shoulders.
So you just didn't go to work the next day?
So I told Bartz, I said, here's the deal. Please do not tell school. I want to.
Because you're already on your half day right now.
I'm
still.
already on my half day.
Okay.
Yes.
So you did all this on your half day. Instead of going to Baton Rouge, you went to the
Yes,
school board office.
I did.
This is such a good story.
So I told Bartz, please do not say anything. Let me process it tonight. Let me call you tomorrow.
I bet you were excited.
Oh my
And
God, I
you
threw
were
a
like,
party.
let me work out these lessons plans while they figure out somebody.
Nope.
No?
No.
You were like, that's your problem now.
Well, I did do the lesson plans, but because we're on our deathbed doing lesson plans.
Yeah.
I had a family group chat that night. Like I felt a whole new me. Like I could not stop crying because of the relief I felt that I could now pay attention to my family. Because I felt like I was putting my husband on the back burner and I couldn't give him my full all. And that is not me. Like
Well,
my first job is to be a mom.
You spend all your time between your husband's like providing.
Yeah.
And then your kids, you're trying to help them thrive. and you're just surviving at this
Oh,
point
yeah.
so that everybody else can thrive.
Yeah. And it just wasn't worth the stress. And that's what Ethan said. He's like, Mom.
And y'all didn't
best-
need the insurance because
I
he's
didn't
retired.
need the insurance. No, I didn't teach because of the insurance. I taught
Yeah,
because it
the
worked with my
schedule.
schedule and my kids were at the school.
Yeah.
So I literally then put vacation. I got a sub because I got like 20, I had 20 days, I think, of vacation I could still use. So I got 20, I got subs for the 20 days and I went in the next day and Odom, the principal
Okay.
was not there when I came to tell him. So I think it was like 2 days before I told him.
Yeah.
Maybe it was 2 days. And I just could not believe I did it. It was the most, I had to take myself back. I had to reinvent. I just had to.
Okay. So now that you don't
It
have
did
any,
help that a parent called on me and that kind of made it easier.
what do you
too.
mean?
Well, because the child did not do their work and I gave the child a 0 because the work wasn't turned in.
Right.
And my students know if you have a 0, turn in the work, I'll regrade it.
Yeah.
And the mom called and was not happy that I gave the child a 0. But my rule is if you've had me as a teacher, I'm going to let you make it up. And
'Cause
I got
life
a call
happens.
saying, you're still causing issues and you're not here. And I'm like, oh, I made the right decision.
Yeah.
I made the right decision. What?
That's obnoxious.
Horrible. Like, don't. Our teachers
For
do not
real.
get the credit they deserve.
Uh-uh.
Kudos to so I keep saying, like, what can I do for the teachers? Like, now that I'm, like, not teaching, like, I should be able to do, like, a driver delivery service. Like, if the teachers want, like, Sonic, like, a
Yeah.
midday, pay me, I'll do this little side
Yeah.
business.
Well, I already
but-
told you to bring me lunch every week.
I know.
They timidly ask me to do things. Like, I will do things for them all the time. If they ask, if I know the need is there, because I don't know what they need. I don't do
Yeah.
that for a living. I'm not there all
Sanity.
the time. But they'll timidly be like, hey, if you wouldn't mind, would you like to maybe treat the teachers to like a hot cocoa bar?
Yeah. I also
Aw.
feel
You know,
our
I'm like,
businesses
yeah.
are saturated. They are constantly
Okay.
being asked, donate. When we were on the travel ball team, we never like
I have
put
been
squares
terrified.
out, but people do. So I do feel our little small town gets.
Listen, Gentry's for every year with youth with Dixie League, their uniforms have been paid for.
Yeah.
This year it's on the coaches, and I have been terrified. I'm like, I'll just pay. So I keep floating because I'm like, I don't want to ask sponsorships. We have so many already.
if the kid is gonna play, let the parents pay.
Yeah, that's what I paid.
So I recently, I will say in the past few months, my best friend lives in Fort Worth.
Mhm.
And I'm a giver. Like, that's my
Yeah.
love language. I don't have a lot of time these days, but if I can just gift you something or purchase something, like, that's my love language because I can't be there. I don't have a lot of time. So if I can provide you with something and in lieu of my presence, like, that is my love language. So she is, Heather, my bestie, is like my opposite. Like, we're
Right.
polar opposites, and she is a PTA mom.
Mm.
She's in there all the time making copies for free 99, volunteering her
Yeah.
time, being at the school, and I love her for it. Like, more power to you. She loves that. Okay, cool. So, sorry, y'all. Dylan's leaving us love notes. So, she like participates like hella deep into that school, and she is also my polar opposite in the fact that she is incredibly organized. She is an immaculate planner. Okay, opposite of me. Things just always work out last minute, man. I don't know what
Yeah.
to tell you. Like, things
Yeah.
just, I fly by the seat of my pants and life is great.
I work
Like,
best under pressure.
yeah, me too. Thrive. So she was having this like fall festival thing a couple months ago, and she's like, I need to pay for this stuff somehow. And I said, well, you go to your local businesses, because that's all I know. Because
Right.
in our area, in DeRidder Rose Pine area, because that's all I know since owning a business, I get accosted all the time by text, email, phone, Facebook Messenger, Instagram. I am constantly inundated. People see me in public and they're like, oh, by the way, I forgot to ask you. And I mean, it's all the time. I got no idea who I've paid, what I've paid
Right.
for, where there's an ad. I get emails saying, I'm sure I've paid for like banners that were never even made because nobody reaches out again and says, hey, I never got an image from you. Because honestly, I've lost track of like where my accountant knows where all the money's gone.
Right.
But I have no idea where my advertising is, where it should be, where it was, like anything. Okay. I got no idea. Like literally at this point in time. That's how inundated
So you
that
need
I
a
am.
marketing team that handles just that.
Pretty much.
Because there's a place in Baton Rouge. This is what I was telling you. Like the LSU moms are doing a boutique crawl because I got it off of
Oh
your.
yeah, sorry, we interrupted you from that.
No, good. That's fine. I got it off of your page, and I'm like, how cool
the
is
boutique
that?
crawl. Okay,
Yes.
I want that for us all the time.
How cool is that? So I'm like, us moms, because every year the dads do a Skip Bertman Day, and the sponsors come out and they do get together with the dads. I'm like, us moms need to do something.
Obviously.
So I reached out to the boutiques because I'm thinking, how would we handle it with you? Hey, this is who I am. I'm an LSU baseball mom. We are bringing a busload of people. I just don't want to show up with 30 to your boutique
And be unprepared.
and be unprepared. Can you handle us? And one said, absolutely not. Too small. We're getting ready for St. Patrick's Day. Thank you for telling me that. I love your boutique, and I'm glad because now we're not going to come to you. Thank you for being honest. But we reached out to only one sponsor, and let me tell you, they were phenomenal, and this is what you need. They're like, give me what you need. I will then propose it. So you need someone not to go through you.
Oh, man.
You need someone to go through me.
Right.
And you'd be like, hey, you want a donation? Go through Brandi, and then Brandi will market it. So we literally did this huge marketing thing, and it's a big company in Baton Rouge, and hopefully they said that they're willing. We just want our bus to be sponsored because we want to do a party bus. We don't want to take cars. So we asked this big company in Baton Rouge to do it. I don't know if they're going to do it. However, he said, you come through me, and then I market it and propose it. So people shouldn't be going through you. They need to be going through somebody.
It's a lot for me to keep track because I already do everything else,
Yeah.
But I really would love if I had someone like that. But okay, so Heather needed people. I told her, I was like, just go ask your local businesses. Okay. She went and asked a bunch of local businesses, and she was told no by
correct.
all of them because in big towns they don't do that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they don't do. I don't know what it is.
They don't.
They don't do it, and so we are, I guess I would say, fortunate enough to where our small businesses here in a population, mind you, the last time we checked was 11,000. That is a very small number of people in a town with very few businesses, and the amount of that we give constantly and are asked to give is insane.
Or asked to give. I know one big company in DeRidder put out how much they donated 1 year.
Oh.
I can't even imagine. I would love to know your numbers on how many people ask you and how much you don't. Like
my bookkeeper and CPA have advised me multiple times to have caps per quarter because it has gotten, because not just in like monetary giving, because I'll give cash, I'll write you a check, like all the things. Gift giving, like baskets, they're like, can you just put me together a basket? Well,
That
it still costs money.
Anytime I give a basket, it's probably at least $100 to $150, and I give out baskets all the time. Not to say like, woe is me. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying like I am fortunate enough to where I am able to do that. But there are lots of businesses I will tell you because I know them. There are lots of businesses in this town that people keep asking and they keep giving and they cannot afford to give.
Listen,
and they're still doing it. And people I think there's a general consensus that like we owe them to do this for people. One, we do not. We are also just people in the community trying to make it.
Trying to make it. That's your job. That's your career.
I think it should be okay for people to say, I absolutely can't afford to do that right now, and people not to like shame them.
Right.
But I think that's what they're worried about is them saying no, and then people talking about, oh man, they're in trouble.
Yeah.
So when
'Cause
someone
they're not
asks
giving
you,
us a
It's
basket.
budgeting.
do you have a form that they have to fill out?
No. And I need one.
You absolutely need one. You need to do it. You definitely need to do it because if people really want something, then they're going to fill it out.
Yeah. I know. So I have a form for employment. I have a form.
It's record keeping.
I have a form for my
Yeah.
scholarship because I started a scholarship last year.
I saw that.
How do you do that? We'll have to
scholarship?
talk about that one day.
So I took Gracie to a LSU softball camp for the first time. It was
I love it. I saw your
what's her
pictures.
name's camp? Oh my gosh. Head coach, LSU softball. Oh my gosh.
If you would have asked me yesterday, I would have.
I know.
Now you put me on the spot.
Oh my gosh, I just talked about her too. I know you're gonna like look it up.
I am, but because she's like famous.
I know. Oh, Beth. Okay.
Yes.
So Beth Tarina, right? Tarina.
Yeah.
Tarina. Okay. So funny story. I actually met her and didn't know I met her. She was like, "Did you get all the signatures you needed on your softball for Gracie at the camp?" And I was like, "I don't know who any of these kids are." So maybe. And Gracie looked at her and she was like, "I only have like 6 signatures on my balls." And Beth turned around and she said, "Hey," to another player, and she said, "Take this girl to the locker room and get all of the signatures
I love
she
that.
needs." And I had no idea
Cool.
still at the moment who she was. I was like, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much." And then later on, I ended up seeing her picture on the social media or something, and it was actually Beth.
I love that.
Who told Gracie to go into the locker room, which I, as a mom, should have been like,
Who are you?
In hindsight, I'm like, not my best mom moment to be like, "Are you sure about
But you
this?"
were at a safe place.
Yeah, it was LSU softball, and there were parents and volunteers and coaches and trainers everywhere.
Oh,
Yeah.
sure.
So I'm sure it was fine. But yeah, that's my like Beth Tarina story.
I love it.
Where were we going with this?
Like how you start, like how do you
community.
start a
Oh yeah, so I
softball?
took Gracie to. It was like
How
one
do
of
you
those
start a
little
softball?
It was like one of those little epiphany moments. We literally crested the hill up onto the stadium, the
Yeah.
softball stadium.
Oh,
And Gracie was like running onto the field with her little team. They put you in color codes of groups with your
Yeah.
wristbands and stuff. And I looked around at all of the girls that were going on the field, and I looked around at all the bags, all the softball bags, and they were all very expensive travel ball bags, very like, very well worn, very like the best bats inside of these bags. And I was like, man, look at all the money it took to get
Right,
here. And
right.
I know that's probably not the best view, but like I think about those things because like, listen, I remember, and she's going to listen to this, but I'm going to say it anyway. But I remember being a kid and like, coming from nothing, opening up my grandma, I'm going to cry.
don't cry. Oh my gosh, she's gonna cry. I'm gonna cry. We don't cry.
She'll
on
be
her
embarrassed
birthday.
if I say
Oh,
this,
God.
but just my grandma's house and like just the condition that we lived in
Yeah.
at the time, and I love her so much. So when she listens to this,
She did her best. It's nothing. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we're crying on birthdays. It's my party, and I'll cry if I want to.
anyway, so I looked around and I was thinking like how much money it took to get here,
Right.
and I was just thinking like I never played sports as a kid. Number one, we couldn't afford it.
Right. Oh, right.
My parents both worked. Like my sister and I were latchkey kids,
Yeah.
so we couldn't have gone to practices anyway. Nobody could take us or pick
I
us
know.
up.
Same,
My mom's a single
same.
mom, worked 2 jobs. Like, I
Yeah.
understand. Yeah.
So anyway, I just saw all of the money it took to get there, and I just thought like so many little girls who probably do have talent and skill are never
Yes.
gonna be able to get here. You know?
Yeah.
And so anyway, I just wanted to do something to where I could make some sort of small action that elevated them to maybe a place that could make it to where if a child got recognized for their athleticism and dedication and I paid their way to do something substantial with a camp, perhaps someone else could pick up that baton. I can't afford to send one kid through 10 years of camps and stuff.
Right.
But if I gave the opportunity twice a year and I was like, and I have to make it a feasible amount to where I can reasonably say 4 years from now, 5 years from now, hopefully I'm still in business. Hopefully I'm still doing okay enough to be able to provide that monetary
Right.
supplement. So I made it $500 twice a year because even if I wasn't doing well financially, I could probably come up with $500.
Right.
I could sell some stuff real quick and still come up with it and be able to hold accountable for that. So I made it $500, and in the future, I'd love to be able to increase that in the future. It's just right now I'm getting ready to buy my building. Not a lot of people know that.
Oh,
I know. So it's just large financial things,
Yeah.
you know? And so I wanted to be able to do something that gave a girl, and it's girls specifically, because I'm big into like boosting the girls.
Girl
And,
power, I
girl
love it.
power, you know? And just giving something to someone who might not have been able to go to that because of financial
I love
restrictions.
And it's expensive. It is expensive. So I was saying, like, Ethan's freshman year, when the coach called and said, hey, come up with your top 5 schools or whatever, it was the end of the season, and we get a call from this same guy and said, hey, LSU wants you to go to their camp. I'm like, Ethan, I love you. The camp is expensive. I just paid out all this money. I cannot do it. I can't do it. I'm sorry. Now, I was going to find a way to do it, right? I mean, LSU said, come to the camp. I called them back and I said, look, I just not sure. Like, I just don't know.
Is
Like,
the juice worth the squeeze? That's always my
that
question.
was my biggest thing. Am I going to pay this money for Ethan to go to this camp?
And how old was he at this time?
He was a freshman.
Okay.
Like, he's like,
Wait,
no.
they still go to camps? Freshman in high
So-
school or freshman in college?
It was a freshman in high school.
Oh, okay. I was about
It
to
was
say,
a
is he still
recruit-
going to camps and freshman in college?
It was a recruitment camp.
Okay.
But I've heard about the recruitment camps. And what they're going to do is they're going to say, hey, we're putting on this camp because they want to see this pitcher. And they can't just say, hey, pitcher, come and pitch. They have to put on this camp, right? And I'm like, I
So
just
it's a dog and pony
don't
show.
know if I could do it. And so I called this guy and he's like, Brandi, if you do not do anything else the rest of the summer for Ethan with ball, I will be okay with it. You have to go. And I'm like, but I didn't know. I didn't know why I had to go. As parents, we're not told. They're like, just show up and we pay and show up. And we just played a summer travel ball. Like, why? What? And he said, Brandi, they're looking at Ethan. They've seen him play this summer. It is part of the recruitment process, which I learned a lot about.
Right.
And it's talking, like being able to talk to the players. He's like, they can't talk to Ethan unless he's at this camp. I need him to go.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, well, you should have told me that 2 days ago, and I would have totally been okay. So I did. We paid for this camp, and we went at the end of the season. And Ethan did not have a good showing.
Oh.
Oh, it was horrible. We're in the stands. And I knew UT was another one recruiting him. We're in the stands, and I'm like, well, now that I know he has to do these things, I start getting on these websites of the schools that are looking at him, trying to get into their camps. Because I'm like, LSU was... Ross said he had a good showing. I was just being dramatic. But I don't know. I don't know. You always think... I don't
There's
know.
nothing that stood out, probably.
Probably not. He was just... Right.
It was just like normal.
Yeah.
There was nothing to write home about.
So I literally could not get on the UT website to sign him up for a camp because I'm like, I need to sign him up. Oh my God, what are we doing? So all these parents, so the coach, it was not Jay Johnson, it was Paul Maneri and Coach Kane. I saw one of the coaches walking with Ethan, and Ethan's like waving us down, and I have my little backpack, and I'm like, hey, and he's like, hey, can you come through the door? We're going to do a tour. And I'm looking around going, okay. And I guess I didn't process it. And I'm sitting there and the coach is like, Miss Frey, are you coming? And I thought he was just doing a tour with Ethan and the other players. And I'm like, and I said, where's the other parents? He's like, oh no, it's just you guys. And I went, oh. So I go down through the little door and Ethan and I, and it was Ross, and we go back through the little area, and he looked right at Ethan and said, look, we love you. We want you to come to LSU. And I'm like turning around, trying not to cry. But so these camps are important and they're
Yeah.
really expensive. So that is another piece of advice. If someone says your child needs to go to this camp, you might want to do it
Go to
because
the
I
camp.
didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know. We don't know what we don't know.
Yeah.
And it made it worthwhile because he said, Paul Maneri is not here right now. We want to recruit you. He's going to call you tonight. And then that's when he said, yeah, look, post on social media, whatever you want to do that you're going to, he's like, do you want to come to LSU? And Ethan's like, oh my God, do I want to come to
Yeah.
LSU? Everybody wants to come to LSU.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Literally.
So if you as a parent, when your kid is older in the high school and someone says, hey, you need to go to LA Tech or McNeese's camp,
Yeah.
make it a priority and go.
Yeah.
because they could talk to your kid at that point. I just didn't know.
I said this to Grace yesterday because through no fault of her own, she has gone through like 3 different travel ball teams over the past like 3 seasons. I told her yesterday after we had left a scrimmage, I said, I want to really praise you because you have been able to jump into a completely different set of players, maintain, like, I want to say professionalism as a 10-year-old. You've made nice with everybody. You're getting along really well. You're still doing your job. And a lot of kids might, and she probably did when she was younger, like shy away and be like, Mom, I don't know anybody here.
Right.
You know? But I said, honestly, I've not heard a single word out of you about how, like, you didn't know a lot of these kids or anything like that. She just jumps right in.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I think, honestly, because her first LSU camp she went to, she was a little like, I don't know anybody here, Mom. And that was when she was like 8, maybe 9. And now, she's 10. But I mean, she's grown. The camps, I think, have helped inundate her with different people from
Right.
all over, and you're all experiencing something new. So it really makes her more, I don't know, more versatile, more
Yeah.
malleable in new situations for her to be like, okay, so what?
Yeah.
Bunch of kids I don't know? Cool. Y'all ready to
Right.
play? Awesome. Let's go.
Yeah.
And social media now connects these kids. So she'll have friends for life. And that's how Ethan got picked up for a lot of like, hey, we need a fill-in this weekend. Can you play?
Yeah.
And let them go play. They have so much fun. There's no stress. They meet new kids.
Yeah.
That's another piece of
See,
advice.
I don't have social media for her or Bradley. I don't.
She is a little young.
She's 10. I can't.
So my daughter works at Crime Stoppers. And before you get them social media, you need to go listen to some of their podcasts and how to like monitor their phones and what app you as a parent can have, because there's an app that you as a parent can have that will monitor your child's
I'd be doing that as a full-time job, monitoring her phone. Good Lord.
Caitlin tells me all the time about these kids and their phones and
I can't.
social
I
media.
mean, I see kids that, like, nowadays, like, I will see, I don't know, even this kids app that they're using that's like a kid version of TikTok, and they're like making all these videos, dancing all provocative, and they're like 9, 10 years old. I'm like, I can't do that.
They're just exposed to a lot more at an earlier age because of the social
right.
media.
And everybody says, like, Bradley, for instance, he's 11 and he's not talking or acting like some of the other kids that are his age. That's because they all are so incredibly exposed.
Yes.
And I just shelter my kids like that because I'm a fuddy-duddy.
I see that even with Gentry. Like, she doesn't know some of the things.
Oh, yeah, they'll
that-
be using slang terms, and
Yeah.
my kids are like, what? What does that mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they're like, ugh, what a nerd. You don't know that. You know what I mean? But
Oh,
I'd
well.
much rather keep them outside and engaged in ball. So, and if anybody's
Right.
ever like, how come you guys are crazy? Like, I get that all the time. You guys are crazy for being so busy all the time. You do it to yourselves. Like,
It's
why are you doing
fun.
this? But honestly, my kids are not sitting at home for 4 hours in front of the TV.
Right.
On
Or
a-
electronic
on the
device in the-
Xbox
yeah.
or a Switch or whatever, because they're literally at the ball field. Or Daryl's building us a 55-foot batting cage at our house right now.
See, that's why I was
coming over.
okay. That's why I was okay with like Ethan playing ball and traveling.
yeah,
Because it
do
got him
it.
out of the house and it
Yeah.
got him to talk to people and meet new people.
Yeah,
and
man.
Kept him busy. And I
Uh-huh.
knew where he was on a Friday night in the hotel, in the pool, with the team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, it
not out
kept
in
him
the
of-
streets,
kept him out of
not
trouble.
doing drugs, not playing on the video game, talking to some 38-year-old man on the internet at 2 o'clock in the morning, asked to meet up in a random place. I
Right.
know, trust me.
Right.
Not, mm-mm.
No, I
Not in my
hear
house.
I hear all about it from Caitlin and how bad it is in social media, and it's very scary.
know.
I'm glad I don't have
And
a
a lot
little
of people
one.
think they have control over their kid's phone.
So the thing is, the kids are like, "Well, I hide it from my parents." The thing is, they're like, "We can't access it." Parents can access it, but the parents just don't know how to access
Yeah.
it. So Caitlin goes into the schools and does a class for like the parents and teaches them
Yeah.
how to access.
I need to go to one of Caitlin's classes.
I've been to her when she goes into the schools and does the School Safety Institute. We need
Is she
that
going
in
to come
our
to
parish.
Rose Pine?
She can't cross the line from Texas to Louisiana because it is a Texas thing. But
Oh, yeah, 'cause she's
I
in
wanted
Houston.
to propose it to like Sam Kraft and Dritter and like split it let me come into the schools and do it. You pay me to do it, and I will
Yeah.
do the School Safety Institute on
Yeah,
cyberbullying.
deliver us
That's
Lunchables
really cool.
and then go.
Oh.
and
Yeah,
then go
because
do that.
I was just having a talk with my friend. I can see me getting a Gentry. Goodness gracious, getting Gentry a phone. Maybe around 9-ish if she continues with sports and I'm busy and she's busy.
Yes.
Just to keep up, to know where she's at. And
Yeah.
like, if she's got to catch a ride with a friend's parent, text her.
Yes.
But
Yes.
I would only want it to where she can only text and call, like, me and her daddy and her grandma. Like, I don't want it
I
full
think you can do that with like
access.
Bark phones
you,
and
you
stuff.
can
Yeah.
you can set it up like
Like, she doesn't need
Right.
Snapchat and Facebook and all that at 9,
Oh, it's so scary.
Somebody
like,
posted on the internet, like on Facebook, I think like a week ago. They said, "Does my kid what do y'all think about this Snapchat? Should I let my kid have Snapchat?" And I was like, I'm 37 and I don't need Snapchat.
Yeah,
I
I don't
don't have
even have
Snapchat.
Snapchat.
I guess I am 37 today. Oh my gosh!
Oh,
Don't tell
Happy
anybody.
birthday!
Don't tell anybody. I'm 29
29.
again.
But yeah, like I would love to just not right now because she's in kindergarten and her reading is good, but I don't know if we could have a full on text
Right.
conversation yet. But in the next few years, I would love to be, hey, you good? Hey,
Yeah.
See,
pick you up at 6,
Yeah, the problem with social media in the kids' brains is when you are on TikTok or Facebook, it does not stop. You scroll and you scroll and you scroll and you scroll, and your brain does not stop. So when these kids are hyper and they're running around, their brain does not stop. Where when you're reading a book, you come to the end, you close the book, your brain dumps that, you're good. But our social media, I truly feel
sensory overload a little
like
bit.
I've read a lot of essays and writings that kids.
Yeah, it does more harm than good, I think.
Oh.
Like, information is great, but
Like my biggest thing as a teacher, I'm like, don't write like you text.
oh Lord.
Like I guess I was strict as a teacher. A lot of kids
That's
are like,
okay.
oh my God, I'm like, I'm not strict. I just expect out of you what I expect from my kids. And I set a high standard. And that's just, Rose Pine is a good school. And I just set the standard high. We're an A school for reasons. There's reason why we're an A school and why everybody wants to come to Rose Pine.
Yeah.
And the kids, they don't know how to spell because social media does it for you. Or
Yeah, autocorrect,
or
man.
Siri or Alexa, autocorrect. Yes. Yeah, so you type now and everything gets fixed. And
Yeah.
so, social media, I just wish we would go back to the good old days. And I loved COVID because, you would go out and you would go fishing or the kids would be out in the yard playing. And
So speaking of social media, how have you dealt with like your son's a cutie? How have you dealt with him being the heartthrob
girls.
and like
Did you
the
just call
girls?
Ethan Frey a heartthrob?
A
Oh my
heartthrob,
gosh.
like how do
In
you
my brain,
deal?
he's still 16 and playing
Oh,
football.
absolutely. That's why I said he's a cutie because he's a baby, But for some women, he's not. For some girls, he's not. So,
No,
like, how
right.
have you dealt with people being like, Ethan Frey's so hot? And you're like, that's my son. Are you like, ew? Or are you like, oh my gosh, my kid's all over social media. Like, what's happening? I don't even know if girls say that. I'm just thinking young girls, a baseball player.
I mean, he's in.
hilarious.
He's
I
a
always,
college baseball player. Like, girls
It's
are
gonna
going to flock
happen.
to him.
let alone an LSU.
Yes.
So here's the best part about the whole thing. So my kids, I'm very thankful with my kids. Caitlin is the best, biggest sister I have ever known in my entire life. Me and my brother don't get along the way my kids do. And something that I wished as a mom is when I have kids, I want them to be thick as thieves and the best friends. And even though they are 9 years apart, growing up, Ethan was a turd and he probably tested Caitlin. I remember coming home from college because I did my master's at Louisiana College and I get a call and he's screaming, she's dying laughing. I thought the house was burning down. All boiled down to Ethan wanted something for lunch. She told him to make it himself and he threw a fit because everybody doted over him and still does. And she's like, I've had to do this
Can
myself.
we just say I saw where you were like meal prepping for him
I do
a
meal
while?
prep.
Do you still do that?
When he started wasting my food, not so much.
Wasting your food.
Just
I saw those meals
I
you were
know.
putting together.
So-
They're bomb.
his whole goal was I needed to gain healthy fat. So I had to change the way I cooked for him because I would make pumpkin rolls, his favorite, or I loved making desserts.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I can't gain that weight because he was injured and he couldn't work out. So we had to sit down and meal prep. And for a while he did. And then he's just so picky. So then he kind of stopped eating it. So I kind of stopped. But when we do, I'm getting off on a tangent. So I'll come back to where we were.
Sorry. I just had to say meal prep.
No, you're good. I do have a lot of people reach out to me about that. It's amazing. Weird. But, a coach too. It was so weird.
To meal prep for the coach?
No, asking how I did it. So I sent him the information on what I did for Ethan. But Ethan's
Oh no,
picky.
I thought you meant like to sell your meal. Like,
Oh,
I will
wouldn't
buy
that have been great?
If you
But
meal prep,
no.
I'll totally do it.
Same. I'll
But
bring
my
me a
meal
lunchable.
prepping for Ethan is weird. He's very picky. So when we go on the weekends, we do cook for the boys.
Okay.
So like, I try to ask him like, hey, what do you want? So like Thursday, Ross and I cooked, and then we bring it for the weekend, and then like we go to his apartment, and like if he wants to invite the boys can come. His roommates eat. Like Friday, we had like hibachi chicken and steak and noodles and fried rice, regular rice, and then I made an apple cobbler. And then on Saturday, we grilled out pork chops and loaded mashed potatoes, just so the boys, because the only thing open at night in Baton Rouge is Cane's, and no one wants Cane's. We're fried out on Cane's. So we do cook for the boys. So like this week, when we go this week, we did get a VRBO, and we will cook for the boys.
Okay.
So I do that too.
Yeah.
So social media is a double-edged sword. I had to
It's okay.
Sword.
I mean, it's phonetically accurate.
Sword. What?
Short.
It is a double-edged
Sword.
I had to think about that. I always know, and not just for Ethan, I always know which girls have the hots for one of the baseball boys because they start coming out and they'll talk to you. So freshman year, Kate went to everything. Kate goes to everything. And she wasn't really, the girlfriends weren't really talking to her, and they were kind of like a little weird in the front. And then finally one of the girlfriends was like, you're Ethan's girlfriend? She's like, no, I'm his sister. And then everybody started talking to her. So it's kind of funny because we laugh like, because everyone thought that was Ethan's girlfriend. So they kind of stayed away. So it's hilarious. But then she's like, I'm the sister. So you always know, like, they'll come out in groves and sit in the parents section and wear the jersey and, are you Ethan's mom? And so you always know. You always know.
I'm cringing a little on the inside.
Ethan is very, very, very... He's like, I'll look at the social media, and if she posts something I don't like, we're done. Like, I'm not going to, like, pursue or try to talk or... He's just, and he's focused right now, so he doesn't want a girlfriend, but it's funny because I always know, like, they'll want to friend me, and I'm like, oh, hey, I had, like, 2 new friends, like, this week. He's like, Mom, or someone will text me and say, hey, so-and-so texted and said, oh, Ethan got a home run, and I'm like... So it's so weird.
Yeah.
And then I didn't know this. I didn't know, like, if you go to, like, a TikTok, you can see who views.
You can up until you get 5,000 followers.
Well,
and then you lose that privilege.
I thought you could take it off. Turn
you
it off.
You can, but then you can't see who views yours. It's
Yeah.
a double-edged sword.
Maybe that's what
It's a
Ethan
double-edged
was telling me.
sword.
Well, he's like, did you?
Sword.
Yeah. He's like, did you look at so-and-so? I'm like,
Oh,
wait,
you
what do you
forgot
mean?
that they could see
I didn't even know they could see me.
Yes.
He's
Unless
like,
you're at
Mama.
5,000, because I hit my personal TikTok.
He said, don't
hit
go look at her
5,000.
TikTok no more.
He said, stay off.
He's like, you can't do that. I'm like, I didn't know. Why didn't you warn
It's
me?
technology, man. Like, how are we supposed to know?
I just
You know
wanted
what?
to know if she
You're
was
gonna have to turn
good.
it off.
Oh, I
This
had to
just
stop.
goes back to, you said that Ethan will look at their Facebook or their social media, and if there's something on there he doesn't like, he's like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I had this thought the other day, and I might have made a post on Facebook. I might have been a little
Was it
bad.
reactionary?
It was
Do you regret it
reactionary.
now?
No,
Oh, okay.
no, because my statement still stands firm.
Okay.
I'm not saying it in a judgy way. I'm saying it in a self-reflecting way. You know, everyone's like, I can't find a good man. And like you say, Ethan's a good man. He's focused on his ball. Can't find a good man. Can't find a good man. Are you being a good woman?
Yeah, seriously.
Because, like, obviously there was something on your social media that
true.
wasn't good that he didn't see was wife-worthy or
Oh,
girlfriend-worthy.
no, she didn't.
Or, because, like, in order to
Oh.
find a good man, you got to be a good woman.
If you're a side, you can tell if you're side piece material
Or wifey material.
or wifey material.
And some of y'all want to be wifey material and you're side
two
piece
side
material.
piece. Yeah.
But you're doing, it's a reflection thing. It's like how you portray yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
And you don't see it.
You don't see it.
You don't see it until you're on the other side of it.
Yeah.
So Ethan went and played in Kansas, going into his freshman year of college in Kansas. And his host mom, we dropped him off, said, I want to let you know I set the rules. There will be no cleat chasers in my house.
Thank the Lord.
Good for you. And I didn't hear the term until then.
Yeah.
Cleat chasers are girls who want to date a baseball player for more
Lord.
reasons than one. And I'm like, I love that.
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully, his second host the next year in Wisconsin said the same thing because it is true. They come out in groves. And
She
Ethan-
said groves.
yeah.
If you're watching, she put her hands as melons.
So it's hilarious. But the
My mama
LSU
calls them hot-tailed little girls.
They probably don't even mean to do it. They're just so
No.
excited to have the opportunity. I'm just trying to get the benefit of the doubt.
I will
They're
tell
just
you,
so
we have
excited.
great. Our LSU baseball players' girlfriends are phenomenal.
Yeah.
They're sweet and
But
they're
they probably
caring and
didn't
they're
meet
loving.
them as cleat chasers,
No,
to be honest. Those
true.
are the side piece girls.
Right. So I always know which one is
Yeah.
coming out for whatever player because they're all googly eyed and I'm like,
Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
so Ethan now kind of just hangs low and doesn't even tell us. He's like, I'm not even going to tell you if it's even worth it. Like, it's not worth it. Like, I'm just too busy.
So
I don't
the
have
day
time.
he tells you, like, hey, there's this girl, I want her to sit with you, then you know this is serious.
Yeah, and he won't tell me. He'll tell Kate.
Yeah.
He'll go to Kate first.
Now, will she tell you things?
No, they're thick as thieves. Thick
Man.
as thieves.
That sounds like
So,
me
but
and my
you
brothers.
want them to be like that, to where
I
she has his
do.
confidence
I do.
and he has hers, to where they're not going to go back to you and be like, Mom, so and he said this, or Mom, she
Right.
said this, because that
Right.
just creates this tumultuous environment.
So I've learned I can't tell them things because they'll tell each other things. So
Oh.
like definitely Christmas is out. So I can't tell anybody what I'm getting for Christmas because if I told Kate what I was getting Ethan, he knew before Christmas.
Oh,
even
so you
came.
got to practice high OPSEC.
Oh, major. So I don't. There's things that I just won't tell them because I don't want the other to know. So I just
Yeah.
don't even say it.
We're
Yeah,
besties.
yeah,
That's so
yeah.
awesome.
And I'm thankful I have one boy and one girl because I'm like, Caitlin, you're my favorite girl, and Ethan's my
Yeah,
favorite boy.
boy.
And boys and girls are much different.
Oh my gosh.
And I love that we were able to raise Caitlin, and then we were able to raise Ethan.
Yeah.
And
People think I'm crazy because I have a 6-year-old and they're like, are you ever having another one? I'm like, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Maybe.
love
There's
ours
plenty
apart.
of time.
Yeah.
You know?
My oldest are 12 months, 12 days apart, and it was hard
Wow.
Yeah.
when they were babies. Because I
Oh.
had 2 C-sections. I had C-sections with both of them.
Oh, yeah.
And then even now, them being 12 months, 12 days apart, and Bradley being a boy and the oldest one, and you know, the maturity is slower. So they're about the same maturity level, and Grace could be more mature than Bradley, to be honest with you, and she's a year younger. So it's hard socially dynamically.
Well, the military never allowed us to have kids closer together because Ross was never home. He was deployed all the time.
Right, yeah.
And 2, we never really had to experience to divide and conquer, which as a parent would kill me if I had to divide and conquer and miss one of my children's events. Now,
we have to do that all the time.
we did have to do that. This fall, we divided and conquered for the very first time.
Uh-oh.
And the dividing and conquered made it worth it because it was in the fall, so we didn't miss a game. Ross went to Baton Rouge and did a dad and son thing, which was phenomenal, and he watched the fall games. And I went with Caitlin, and we went and visited a wedding venue.
Oh.
So we got to divide and conquer, and I
Yeah.
loved that.
Yeah.
And then we divided and conquered, not really that way, but Caitlin turned 30 in February. And in the summer, you know, we had 2 different growing up. Like, we were in the military, not a lot of money when Kate was growing up, but she never knew it. She still did dance.
Right.
So now that we're in a different financial situation, I try to be a very fair mom just because my mom wasn't. But
I hope she listens to this.
my mother was not very fair. I'm sorry, Mom, but I try to be a very fair parent. So, like, every time we'd buy Ethan a bat, I'd give Caitlin the money. She finally said, Mom, I have my own career. Please stop sending me money. I don't need the money. I don't need it.
Yeah.
Whatever. So that took a little bit for me to.
There's always a difference, I'm telling you, between the oldest kid and the youngest kid. Because, like, I will not take from my parents nothing. Don't ask me. I don't want it. My sister's like, gimme, gimme, gimme.
Yes.
Can you pay for this? Can you do this for me? And if there was ever something that would make me lose respect for somebody so fast, it's somebody that came from the same cloth as me and cannot do for themselves. And that's like, I've talked about my sister one time on this episode or on this show, and that's pretty much because somebody was like, I didn't even know you had a sister. Yeah, I think you said that. You didn't even know I had a sister. And we do not have a close relationship at all. So I'm it's so awesome that your kids are so incredibly close because
Yes. Oh,
the opposite
yes.
of that is
Right.
this right now. And we're only a year and a half apart.
Oh. Same with me and my brother. We're like 2 years.
Just like we do not get along. We're polar
I'm
opposites.
about to rock the ship. Me and my two brothers are 10 and 17 years apart.
Wow.
Man, I wish.
I was a uh-oh.
But
There's
I
no
love,
such thing as it's a happy accident.
Oh, I was a very happy accident. I'm the best thing that
but
ever
I
happened
love,
to my mama.
Like, I love that relationship. I'm very thankful. Ross was deployed. I said, Kate helped raise the baby. So, like, everyone's like, oh, you're 24. You're going to have a baby. She's like, I raised my baby. I raised my baby. And it just ended up being my brother. She delivered Ethan. So we were military. We were living in a transition between duty stations, went to Illinois. And she delivered the baby. And she's like, I had my baby. I raised my baby.
she helped. She like called him.
She did. So then she slept for 12 hours because it was a lot, I guess, delivering a baby. But
At 9 years old.
At-
Were you
yeah.
at home?
No, I was at the hospital, but I was living with my parents at the time because Ross was in the middle of deployments and we were new. I was pregnant. We had a lot going on. We packed up the house, going to the next duty station. We lived in a small town like this. And she's like, oh, Kate, what do you want to be? And she's like, a doctor. The doctor asked Caitlin this. And she's like, well, you want to deliver the baby. Be in the room with us. So
Yeah.
she delivered
Wow.
So cool.
That's so awesome.
So Kate said, I delivered my baby. I raised my baby. And she did. So there, again, Ethan was a turd to her growing up and they laugh about it now. But like when he gets a break, he's like, I'm going to Kate's. Good. Go to Kate's. Go for the weekend. Go get a tattoo because their thing is tattoos. They have a great tattoo artist in Houston. Malcolm. Give him a shout out. But
Malcolm in Houston.
If anybody wants to know. So it's funny because you said his tattoos now on his.
Yeah.
At
Well,
things.
and you can tell photography wise, just because I edit my own photos,
Oh.
you can tell photography wise that they put a lot of contrast
Really?
and emphasis on that arm of his for marketing.
Really, because when I tell you I at least had 6 people text me, I think it was last week after he hit a home run, we didn't know Ethan had that many tattoos. But, when they get a break, Thanksgiving and Christmas, Ethan will literally go to Houston. Their tattoo artist will block off the whole day and he'll do as much as he can.
Yeah.
So I thought, my God, his tattoos look great. So that explains it. That explains
Because under
it.
like stadium lights, under lighting in general, your skin doesn't look like that. Usually, it's not. The black isn't that vibrant.
I
from
thought they looked great. I
distance.
didn't know why.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes perfect
But
sense.
it looks fabulous for
Yeah.
photography wise and
Okay.
marketing wise, and it makes him look pretty, badass.
Yeah.
From,
Yeah, I'm trying to look
from
now.
that angle. Are you seeing it yet? Because he hit his homer,
He
and
hit-
that was one of the photos.
Yes.
Was that sleeve of his right arm?
Yes. So that's his and Caitlin Singh. And what do you give someone when they have everything? We try not to do Christmas presents, which we do, but we do family tattoos now
It's
instead.
really hard to give people because, I own a store. You know how hard it is for Darryl to buy gifts
Yes.
for me.
Yes.
If I want it, I've already got it.
No, right.
And I'm not super materialistic like that. I typically, what I wanted, I think I thought about this the other day, was like a steam cleaner to be, you know what I mean? Steam and
Yeah.
dirty. Yeah. You see that? Look at that.
Oh yeah, those are enhanced.
Mm-hmm. They for sure, yeah. Because if you look at the lighting hitting the yellow right here,
Yeah.
this would have all been very faded out, but they used the contrast
Yeah.
all over that.
That's cool.
Yeah. So that would.
But hey, whoever created that did a really good job.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I would hope.
Mm-hmm. So
Oh yeah, it looks
on.
good. I just wanted to be nosy and
No,
see
and
it
his
now.
tattoos do look super good though.
Yeah.
So Caitlin, very first tattoo. I remember her very first tattoo. I freaked out as a mom.
How old was she?
She was a freshman in college, and back then, you didn't have social media and phones and stuff like that.
Right.
But we had USA, same banking, and I saw. She said, "Hey, I'm going to play intramural sports."
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And that's what you do when you are not an athlete.
No,
is
right.
you go play because I played intramural softball.
So
in
she
college.
played intramural football, and she's like, "Hey, maybe whatever she was playing, maybe it was softball at the time." She's like, "Hey, I'm going to the intramural sports. I'll call you when I'm done." I'm like, "Okay." So I went in to look at something on my account, and I'm like, "Oh my God, somebody hacked Caitlin's account. I'm freaking out. They got a tattoo. I'm freaking out." I'm like, So I'm calling her.
How much was this tattoo?
It was like $200.
So it wasn't huge, but it was big enough.
But back then, $200 was a lot.
Oh, never mind. We're talking.
This was
back in the day.
2013.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Okay, just kidding.
So finally,
was a
she
big old
answered
tattoo.
A big old tattoo.
and said, "Mom, what is wrong? Oh my God, are you okay?" I'm like, "Someone hacked your account. Are you at the field?" And she's like, "I'm at the field." I'm like, "When you're done, call me." She's like, "What do you mean? Somebody hacked my account?" So now I distracted her from what she's doing. I'm like, "Well, somebody." She's like, "What's it for? How much?" I'm like, "It's $200 for this tattoo." She's like, "Oh, yeah. Oh, by the way,
I got me a tattoo, Mama.
I flipped my
Yeah.
I flipped my crap.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't believe it.
Don't worry. If you swear, Dylan will put
Okay.
a duck quack
Ha!
over because you're just ducking around.
Ah, that's funny. So Dad and Kate are very close. So I called Ross like, "Oh my God, you got to call Kate." So I'm freaking him out. He's like, "I don't even know what you're saying. Let me call Kate." And he's like, "Kate, Mom is flipping out. What's going on?" She's like, "Well, I got a tattoo." He's like, "Wait, now Ross is tatted." She's like, "Mom's flipping out. I got a tattoo." He's like, "Okay, call me when you're done." He called me and said, "Brandi, what is the problem?" I'm like, "She got a tattoo." He's like, "Are you mad she didn't tell you?" I'm like, "Yes." He's like, "What's the big deal?" I'm like, "She got a tattoo." He's like, "I have tattoos. What's the big deal?"
Yeah.
As a mom, I wanted her to tell me. You're
Right.
at college.
Yeah.
So as moms, we've got to stop flipping out.
Well, as a mom, my first thing is like, who was she with? Who
Oh.
influenced her to do this? Does she have a boyfriend they're going to get matching tattoos?
What
or
is this
something?
tattoo of?
Like,
Where's
what
it
is
at?
it? Where is it located? Was the place clean? Did you research this beforehand? How long have you been planning it? Did you get a workup design done first? Did you get a trial run done? Like, I have so many questions.
Oh, I know.
You
So
know,
I
Brittany's going through this list, and I haven't done many of those before I got my tattoo.
So I said to her, "When you're done, send me a picture." And I'm praising the Lord, hoping it's okay.
Yeah, maybe it was like a puppy or something.
Well, come to find out, she sent me this picture. I'm like, "Oh my God, is it up like your arm from your wrist to your?" Of course, moms freak out. It was maybe 3 inches long, and it was the date that my father passed away.
Oh.
So of course, because she was very close with
For
her
$200?
papa. And it was like, yeah.
Oh, Lord, I'm
Wow.
That was a...
We've learned a lot
You know
since
what?
then.
That was a nice place, probably, if they're charging that much. I don't know, unless you
I don't
walked
know.
in
Maybe it
looking all
wasn't 200. I
hoity-toity.
just thought maybe 150, 180. I don't know. So once she told me it was of Papa's death and the date, and I calmed down and then started crying because she's really close to my dad. And so now it's like, "Hey, you have a new tattoo."
Yeah.
She probably has, I don't, 30, 40.
Well, the first time I met my mother-in-law, and if you watched last episode, we haven't always been A1 day one.
Yeah.
Like now we're thick as thieves, but it hasn't always been that. So she doesn't love that her children get tattoos. And the first time I met her, my husband had a big old brand new anchor from the bend of his elbow to almost his wrist, and he sat down beside her in church, and she grabbed his arm. So not only is she meeting a new girlfriend, but he has a big old anchor on his arm.
Oh,
My dad would have disowned me.
Yeah.
Like back when we were growing up, me and my brother, earrings were in, so my brother got earrings, and my dad told him to leave his house. Like, don't come in the house with the earrings.
Yeah.
So if you guys knew how I was raised, you'd be like, "What?" I was raised on motorcycles, like...
Yeah.
We'll leave it as that. I rebelled. I laughed to the good side. My dad never, though. All my uncles drove Harleys. He drove Hondas. Never had a tattoo. Worked for corporate. Never would know he was a tire engineer. Never
He
had
drove
a tattoo.
a Honda?
A Goldwing.
Okay.
He drove a Goldwing. So my first vehicle, they all laughed.
So he was
Classy. I don't know.
He just didn't. Yeah.
So Daryl's an Indian man.
Oh
so
yeah.
We ride an Indian.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So,
Nice.
but I feel like there are bike personalities. So when you say Honda, I'm like, Honda.
Oh, I know. I know.
Isn't
So-
Indian like the
nice.
like really
Indian's
nice?
a nice
Yes,
bike.
it
really
is.
nice.
It's respectable.
Yes,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
is.
yeah.
Oh, you drive by and go, ooh, look at
Ooh.
that.
I am not a biker, but I even know an Indian is a fine
Oh,
bike.
very fun.
So
So my
you have
first,
different personalities.
excuse
Yeah.
me, my first car, I didn't get a first car, so we all laughed. I got my mom's first motorcycle. So my mom handed me down. I had a 400 automatic. That's how I learned how to drive in Chicago. So
On a motorcycle in Chicago?
Mhm.
I knew you were
Yeah.
freaking cooler than you
Crazy
portray to
is
be.
Yeah.
the word that I was going
Yeah.
to use. But Chicago on a motorcycle? Whew,
yeah.
there are places
Oh,
I would
see, I
not
think
drive.
you'd be so cool just weaving in and out.
No, there are certain places that I would, and probably not. Busy Chicago or suburbs?
So I was in suburb, but to go to
Okay.
aunts or grandmas or whatever, you still drove downtown. So all my uncles, all my cousins, my brother, like
Yeah.
all have Harleys.
And that's not a good weather place for bikes.
So it's funny because my dad wanted to buy this new motorcycle one year, and my mom said, well, this is what you're driving. Like, you're not getting a car, like, in the winter, this is what
Yeah.
you're driving. So in the winter, you just need to bring them in the house. So moving here, we got rid of our motorcycle because the loggers don't see you, and it's just very scary. And I was raised on them. My
Yeah.
husband wasn't. And so now that is a true. So we got rid of it just because we're like, oh God, we have young kids. What
Yeah.
if something would happen? I've seen my brother get into many motorcycle accidents.
Mm-hmm.
But like when my father died, like the procession of motorcycles,
Yeah.
that's, you saw
Yeah.
them all come out of the
woodwork.
road.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, I say I rebelled to the good side. Like
Yeah.
I don't tell my kids like how I was raised. I don't share many of the stories on how I was raised. I would.
Yeah.
Were y'all
it
part
just-
of a club?
So people would just not believe like how I was raised.
The Honda. It's still the Honda for me.
So
I don't
look,
know.
you go to Sturgis. You know what Sturgis
So yes,
is.
but I don't go because
I've heard of Sturgis.
So
You
I-
shouldn't be taking a 10-year-old to Sturgis.
No, you shouldn't.
Is that like the biker rally that happens
Yes.
every year? Is it every year?
It's every
Yes.
year up in like North Dakota.
So like
It's the Black Hills, I think, or the and it's like think like Bonnaroo or like Burning Man, but for bikers.
Mardi Gras, but for bikers.
Yes, absolutely Mardi Gras
yeah.
for bikers. We had an issue one time. We lived in a cul-de-sac, and one of the neighbors was just giving us kids a hard time because we played in this cul-de-sac. That's where we played ball. So my dad called his friends, and that night there must have been 300 motorcycles show up.
Wow. Listen,
It was just crazy.
Yeah.
I have heard that if you're in one of the towns that the motorcycles come to at night, like during their drives, I've heard that there's this one town that if you are not part of the motorcycle group, you can't hardly stand to be there because the town, like it's an old town. So it's like downtown DeRitter in front of Cecil's where those loud pipes just rack
Oh,
it.
yeah.
It's like there's so many motorcycles that when you're sitting there eating, if you're eating outside, you can't like,
Yeah.
Oh.
you just can't
I feel
eat
like
because it's so loud.
We should really like honest to goodness, because I'm around like bikes all the time. Like Daryl's in a motorcycle club,
Yeah.
and like my dad rode and my
Mhm.
uncle rode, all that. And I ride with Daryl all the time.
All the time.
But I will say bikers are like the nicest,
oh, I had the
Oh.
best
most
time.
protective of children.
yes.
Listen.
It just takes a different degree
Yes.
of like mental and control. I think riding and being a lifelong like rider.
Yeah.
You know, and I definitely don't want to give anybody this bad impression of
Absolutely
like
No, no, no,
bikers
no,
at
no.
all. They are the nicest,
Yes.
most
They
giving
are.
people.
Yes.
So yeah, I just really want to put
But
that
when
out
they
there.
party, baby,
Oh
we
yeah.
party.
I've
Sure.
seen things that I should never.
I
That kids
know.
should never. have
Yeah.
seen. So I don't ever
Because
share
you were
with my
there for
kids.
the
So if
party
they're listening, I'm not
aspect.
sharing any of it.
No, no, no.
Oh God.
Yeah. Now, my brother was part of a motorcycle club, and they were in Leesville. I can't think of their name. They were a veteran group, but my brother wasn't a veteran, but they kind of adopted him in.
Delta, there's CVMA.
Now, this was almost 15, 20 years ago.
They're old.
Oh, okay. So they adopted him in, and they were rough and tough guys. I mean, looking at these men, you'd probably think,
and bikers.
yeah,
yes.
you'd probably think, I ain't going nowhere near them. Every run was a benefit for like toys for
Every
tots,
single one.
whatever.
Right.
Every weekend that they went on a ride, they got rowdy and did whatever they wanted to do, but
They took care of business
They
first.
took care of business, and their money went to some kind of charity, mostly towards children.
Yep.
And when I hung out, my brothers were 10 and 17 years older than me. There was nothing cooler than my brothers and their friends. And I was nothing but safe. The only time any harm was done to me was because I smarted off to my brother and I told him that I had my makeup done and he was not going to throw me in the pool. And just like your dad called and 300 bikers showed up, my brother said, boys, she said she wasn't going in the pool. And they grabbed legs, arms, ankles, and threw me fully clothed. So, like, it wasn't.
Yeah.
But, yeah, no, they were genuinely some of the best people
I never felt
ever.
unsafe. Like, I thought I was cool. I was part of the group. And we got, because not a lot of them brought their kids, but my parents, because both my parents, my mom and my dad drove a road, and my brother would be on one and I would be on the other, and we went everywhere.
Yeah.
And your parents probably were thinking, we're living the life right now.
Literally.
Yeah.
We've got the
And
coolest
now you're an
kids.
adult and you're like,
look
that
at all
was
these
not
aunts
the
and
life.
uncles you have.
I had fun.
Yeah.
Like, I never felt unsafe. Like, I just
And I
It
mean,
was
you're on the
amazing.
back of a gold wing. You're probably really comfortable.
and I had the radio, and I was
Yeah.
really comfortable.
And now you look back and you're like,
I've
oh,
asked
but that was a
Darryl,
lot
like,
going on.
Do you ever want to upgrade to the Indian like Roadster? That's I think that's the Roadmaster, and it's like super. They have heated seats.
Oh, now they're so much better than what they
Yeah.
were.
And he's like, no, that's for old people, Brittany. We're not doing that. Absolutely not. But I'm like, I want a little helmet with a walkie-talkie.
Yeah.
Hey.
But see, my dad always said, because we did get on the bikes and we rode, we traveled, and we would like go to Wisconsin or Wisconsin Dells from where we lived, or we'd go on a run or whatever. And my dad's like, I want to be comfortable.
Yeah.
Like, everyone drove Harleys. He was the Goldwing. He's like, I'm going for comfort.
Yeah.
So like, this tells you like how much my dad was a General Tire. He was a corporate engineer, tire engineer, worked for corporate General Tire. When we buried him in his jeans and a pack of cigarettes and his beer, and just because that's who he was. Like, he would never be like, oh, wow, you're in corporate, just because how we were raised.
Yeah.
But yeah, so no.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
I think, Dylan, don't you ride? Dylan rides too. Oh, yeah, because you and Darryl go on rides, huh? Yep.
I do miss it. I miss it. But now that we have kids, like, if something would have happened with Ross and I together on a bike, because I've seen a lot of accidents.
That's why I got life insurance for both
I know,
of
but
us.
being military, what would our kids have done?
I know.
So, yeah. So I'm like,
They would have gone to be raised by your parents. They would have gone to Sturgis too.
So Caitlin
circle.
had power of attorney for Ethan in case something ever happened to Dad and I. And now that he's turning 21,
Oh, he's in charge of himself now.
he's in charge of, well, ever since he went to LSU, I say Jay is in charge
Yeah,
of Ethan.
Jay's in
We're not in charge of Ethan
Here's your
anymore.
new parent.
Yeah. I joke all the time. I'm like, hey, he needs a place to live. Can he live in your backyard, But no. But it was fun.
That's awesome.
I had a good life. I hope my kids had a good life.
I think they're having a
I
good
think
life.
they're okay.
I think they're okay.
I think they're okay.
Because that's our biggest goal as parents,
Yeah.
and that's why I had to quit my job, because I had to reinvent myself, and I wanted to be the mom and the wife that I knew I wanted to be, and it's been the best
And then you
decision
have
I've
the
ever
courage to
made.
do that. I think it's awesome.
It took a lot.
Yeah.
So look,
I bet your anxiety was at like an all-time high.
here's my advice. If you're going to do it, just do it. Because there's so many things where you're like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. Just do it.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to have a regret, because there's so
You
many
probably shouldn't
regrets we
tell
have in
me that,
life.
because I want to do so many things.
I wanna
have
do so many things.
ideas, but dadgummit, I
And
need
you
a
have
starting
such an
place.
entrepreneurial spirit too. Like, you're constantly
Yeah.
talking to me about starting several different
I know,
businesses.
and I have none.
Yeah, but
you
I think
should.
it's just the time in your life right now.
And our money, I'm going to be very honest, our money goes to baseball.
Yeah.
There's no money to start a business. And
Yeah.
I would love to, but there's no money to start a business. I'm planning
So maybe
a wedding.
it's just after.
So let me help you with yours. That's what I'm going to do. Let me help you with yours. I'll be your consultant. I'll do your marketing. But I always wanted to do a food truck. Like if I would have started a food truck, I would do food runs to the guys. My husband was a tank commander and drop food off in the field.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh my God, if I would have started a food truck way back then,
Yeah.
you just didn't have the money back then. And to
Yeah,
run a business,
that's
it's so
true.
different now.
It is.
So my money goes to baseball and weddings, and maybe I'll be an entrepreneur one day. But
You will.
I'll help you with
I
yours
have a
until then.
feeling.
Well, if you ever just have a bored week, I will take Lunchables because you're
I
an
keep
extra
saying
queen.
that. I should do that because I'm going to have to eventually come up with money for some
Yeah.
wedding.
Okay, we're gonna wrap it up.
expenses. Hey, thanks for having me on.
Thanks
you
for
for
coming.
coming. Are
I
you
love
coming
it.
back?
I'll come back because
Yes.
part one was Ethan and sports.
pretty much. Sorry, Caitlin.
And we gotta
We
talk
love
about
you so
Caitlin.
much, Caitlin.
Oh, we love Caitlin. We should have Caitlin on.
Oh my gosh. Ooh,
Oh my
Crime
gosh!
Stoppers.
Wait, when is she coming?
When do you want her to?
We'll put another mic right here.
Let's do it. She's awesome.
Oh, look, I got excited. My accent came out.
Oh, that means Dylan has to order another mic. Dylan.
We can share.
Dylan.
She can.
She can.
Can
Oh,
she
she can sit right there in the
right
middle.
here. Yeah.
I love her. She's awesome. We are very blessed with the most amazing daughter I've ever had in my
You
whole
think I
life.
only have 3 mics?
Well, you said you were gonna get those big fancy
I was gonna
ones.
get those.
Oh, okay.
Oh, so good. When's Caitlin coming?
Let's plan it. She's
Okay.
the glue that holds the family together. Like
Okay.
I have to run ideas
love
by her
it.
because she's so grounded. Where she's like, "Mom, no," because
Yeah.
I'm not. I think with my thoughts.
Yeah.
Like I think
They're
with my
intrusive
emotions,
sometimes.
and
Yeah.
she is very grounded and be like, "No."
Yeah, I've heard so much from Christy and you about her. I can't wait to like. Christy is her future mother-in-law. For people
Yeah.
who don't know, and she loves her.
She does. We're very
And
blessed.
it's all like sweet. She talks about Tyler and Caitlin all the time. So I've heard so
love
much.
it.
So I'm like, bring her on.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. She is a wealth of knowledge. I wish I was smart and beautiful like her. I really do. She's amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, until next time. Oh, also, I was gonna say. Now my brain. No,
I had fun.
we didn't ask you any questions
Oh my gosh.
that we
we just-
normally were to ask. Dang it! I'm gonna have to do it next time.
Okay.
What
When
questions?
Caitlin comes on, we usually ask like, "What's the best thing you have ever done?"
Oh yeah. The
What's
best
the
thing she
worst
ever did was
thing
quit her teaching
you ever
career.
did? And then there's other stuff too. Anyway, we're gonna have to do that next time.
The worst thing she
So
ever
we're
did
gonna
was
put a
read
pin in
social
it.
media.